Bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone up progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone with affection, I summon it double. Cause bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone up progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone with affection, I summon it double. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with a nigga who lying for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. On holding your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely can trust you. I told you it's shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I give you the bar. I'ma give all of my people a portion to put them a fortune on flipping the bar. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me, like you wasn't pushing the kids to the side? I don't know if you bitches are thinking I'm bad. Cross on my crosses and dirt on my eyes. Done with your efforts, I'm dealing with pressures. I know it's a lesson, that's one of the wise. Dubbing the mixes I'm mixing, I know I've been missing. I needed some personal time. Fuck all the pictures, dimensions. I know what you digits. I mean it, I'm staying inside. Bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone with affection, I summon it double. Cause bitch, I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back. Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone with affection, I summon it double.
Peace, 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 family. This is Elder YARAH coming to you live this Saturday morning. I hope everybody's having a blessed start to their day, giving all praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to God, Yahweh. Hey, man, listen, we're going to get it in this morning. Shout out to everybody, man. You know, whatever you coming from, this is not about your religion. This is not about dogma. This won't be a conversation about what you believe and what you believe in. Those of you, like, you may have raised the eyebrow to the intro music, but this is for the young people. This is going to be listening. This is for some of us old heads too that really need to understand what's going on out here in the streets. We've been seeing in the news, and social media, and all around the country, not just one particular area, but this really concerns our people. And talking about bringing some solutions if possible. But we wanted to get it in with my brother. We got a special guest today, brother Unseen, Unseen, and he's a brother who I know has boots on the ground in Chicago, in one of the most notorious today notorious areas of Chicago. I'm going to let him talk about that, get it in. I know the brother's out there, so some things, we're going to be real intelligent with. I know the brother's been on the move. And so, listen, we just want to chop it up, man. And let's talk about this. We're going to hear it directly from people who are out there, man, in the battle, right? We already know when they report news, certain things concerning our people, regards to looting and rioting and different things like that. A lot of the upheaval that we see, talking about police brutality, talking about street politics and politics as a whole. We're going to talk about, man, really how these things really are affecting our people and really what's going on in these streets today. And so we're going to have a dynamic panel. I'm waiting for a few other brothers to fall in. And we're going to really have an honest conversation. And I'm going to let these brothers rock out. And we're going to really, let's try to, if we can, get into the minds of our young people out here in these streets, and see what's really going on, man. And I'm going to have my brother Unseen go in, talk about what he knows, man. And so, again, this is not just for, a certain paradigm, a community from a certain paradigm, but this affects us all. You see what I'm saying? Whether you rock with, Muslims, or whether you rock, with, Kemetic brothers, or whether you rock, with Israelites, or whether you rock as a Christian, this is affect us all. So we're not bringing the dogma into this, and so again, what we want to do is just really have an honest conversation and just bring some clarity and some understanding to what we know and what we don't see, right? What we don't see going on out here in the street. So I know I'm waiting for a few brothers to start in, but right now, man, I'm going to turn this thing over, man, and let my brother Unseen introduce himself. Welcome to the panel. Hold on, let me see. We got Suave Boss in the building. You know what I'm saying? So he's also going to bring a wealth of knowledge and understanding to what we're talking about, man. And we're going to really talk about, what we can, hopefully we can talk about, what some solutions could possibly be, right? Just get some things out there, man, because these are some things that need to be talked about. I know these brothers are knowledgeable, and I'm not just talking about from a street level, but it's on a level of understanding our people, our culture, and how we move and how we should be relating this information, and then the portrayal of our people, like, how we should really get this conversation going. So I thought I met this brother Unseen, actually in dealing with some of the things on Judah Nazar's channel. So I appreciate you, Judah, for even having this brother on so that we can connect and bringing this conversation over here as well. So shout out to you for that. And so, man, we're going to rock it out. So again, I'm going to let brother Unseen introduce himself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Suave Boss to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to rock out, family. Let's get it. Unseen, it's on you, fam.
All right, peace. Thanks for having me. Shalom to you. Shalom to the panel. My apologies for the situation, the discrepancy yesterday. This discussion that we're gonna have, like, I'm gonna try to keep names out of it as much as I can. Some names may have to pop up. I know it's a new thing today where people say clout chasing or whatever, but this has nothing to do with clout. I'm gonna tell y'all the real truth about a lot of things that's going on in Chicago, and a lot of things that went on in Chicago that most people may not know, and they might have seen like news clips or documentaries and think they know, but they don't know. I'm gonna try and give you some knowledge on my experiences and what I was involved in, and to some degree still involved in. And I want to say peace to all the folks and the people in Chicago, because at the end of the day, we all the same people. And hey, like all this, all this killing, a lot of it is over silly stuff. And the killings that's not over silly stuff, the killings that really have things behind it, we're missing it. And that's a problem in my eyes, because though the things that we miss are the things that affect us the most. So I want everybody to be mindful of that. Peace, Wild Boss. I know we have some unfinished business to do. If I get the chance, I'm gonna holler at you later. Other than that, I'm ready to jump right into the issues. Shout out to everybody that's listening, and let's see if we can come up with some solution.
Man,
all right.
Peace. Appreciate you, family. Suave Boss, it's on you, fam.
Yes, sir. Is my mic good?
Man, your mic is excellent, brother.
All right, peace to YARAH, man.
Peace.
I appreciate your magnitude of just the energy, big bro, and the things that you were able to put together and set up to conquer. Seeing you already know, man. Much respect forwards and backwards, man. I appreciate y'all having me part of this. Yeah, Suave Boss, man. I'm not from Chicago. I'm 15 minutes outside of Chicago from Gary, which anybody that's not from around here will call Chicago. So and we was, especially in the 90s, Chicago and Gary was directly tied. A lot of our territorial leaders, our governors, organizers got their leg and their structure from Chicago, because that's what Chicago was about, organization and structure. And that's the things that I wish we would have held on to, because when I got into the streets, it was out of lack of having any other option. It was like family just wasn't family. So I found my family in the street. And, They were already part of a nation. And so we had our flags, and using words like this, it didn't hit me to a certain point. Your flag and your nation. This is a country. These are citizens. That means order. That means dietary laws. That means dress codes. It means laws, laws all across the board. And we let it get diminished to a criminal element. And those are the things that we held on to and glorified when that's not what this was about. We know all nations have conflict, and the thing with us was with the brothers and sisters, as usual, they turned us against each other. The vice lords and the folks are brother and sister nations. These are our territories that sit side by side without any land. But if process was progress, that's what it would be. And so I think we need to recalibrate how we look at each other because of the colors that we wear and the signs that we hold, and the construct that we come from. These are not things that's supposed to divide us. They're supposed to make us stronger. Different people have different mentalities, different energy, different hearts. Those things are respected. This is how these groups come about. Out of need for structural organization for Black communities. And so for it to be represented as just a criminal entity is an injustice to, our liberty, what we need to do. If we feel we need to come together as groups and name them and have flags and colors and laws, that's our, it's just, I really want us to take that back to a mature level, back, because it's not about the streets and it's not about selling drugs and it's not about ruling territory. It's honestly about structured family, something that we had taken away from us. So I just appreciate y'all allowing my presence, man, and give me time to spill my spill, man. I appreciate it. Let's get into it.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Suave Boss, man, for joining the panel family. Um, hey, look, let's get it in. So, Unseen, why don't you give us, man, as much as you possibly can? You know what I'm saying? Still, and being discreet as you possibly can, man, because we know how these things go, family. This is real. So, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, and then let us know, man, what you've been seeing, man, and what you understand. Like, we hear a lot of things going on in the news and in the media. Been hearing it for a lot of years, man. And if anybody really understand, man, you really can't even really these days talk about the shot without even talking about Gary, man. Like it's it's connected, bro. So like we gonna get this whole in, man. We gonna deal with this whole like Midwest thing, but we really gonna like go into it, brother. So let us know what you're saying out here, brother, and let us know um your assessment, man, of the situation, family. On you, Unseen.
Yeah, shalom. Man, Suave, I didn't know you was from Gary, man. That is Chicago. You might as well say.
Yeah.
But let me say this. I grew up in Chicago. I've lived all over Chicago. I mean, I've lived in Cabrini Greens. I've lived in the Obla homes. I mean, I lived in the Ida B. Wells, Madden Park, Robert Taylor, of course. I mean, I've lived all over Chicago. I even lived on the north side. I don't think I lived on the west side as an adult for a little bit. But my background, like I said, I come from Chicago. When I first started recognizing uh, gangs, if you want to call, because I don't like to say the word gangs, but I might slip in and out of saying it for just for the viewers to understand. When I first started recognizing gangs or street organizations, I lived in the Obla Homes. If anybody's familiar with the Obla Homes, that wasn't too far away from Cabrini Green. When I lived in Cabrini Green, I was a infant, so I don't have too many memories of that. But we lived in the Obla Homes. I was maybe, I want to say 7, 6, 7, and this is way back in the day. And anybody familiar with the Obla Homes, it was a group of project buildings with different names, but together as a whole, they came up with the acronym Obla for Obla Homes. And I stayed in the Brook building, the Brooks Home building, building 1. I stayed on the 8th floor, and I used to go to school, and I come home from school, and I'm gonna take you back during the time of the hip hop era when hip hop was exploding, and we had groups like Nucleus and all that. So what we would do coming from school, we'll come home from school, we'll go change clothes, we'll take big pieces of cardboard, and we'd go downstairs at the bottom of the building on the side. The building was at 1209 South Racine. Whoever knows Chicago, y'all know what I'm talking about. We'll go down there and we'll go on the side of the building where the sidewalk was at, where Racine Street was at. There, all the drug dealers used to pull their cars to the curb and blast their music. And what we would do, the shorties would do, we'll come down with our big pieces of cardboard and we'll break dance for them. And whoever was the best break dancer, they'd give them like $5 or whatever. So I used to do this every day. Me and my brother would come down, go downstairs, break dance, try to make some money from the drug dealers who stand out there watching us playing their music. And there is where we saw a lot of shootouts. You would see, rivals drive past, catch them out there, start shooting. And that's when I first seen like people getting shot and people getting killed. And from that, it kind of made me aware of, what was going on in the streets as far as gangs. Because during that time, you was a kid, your main focus was getting candy, hanging with your friends or whatever. So after that, when we used to see that got me prepared for, unfortunately, what would happen to me later in life as I went on. Because, like I said, my family, we moved around Chicago a lot, and we jumped from different projects, or sometimes my mom would get a house, or either, things like that. I come from a family that was not well off. We were poor. My mom was on welfare. So you know how that go. So fast forwarding, when I really started getting into the organizations as far as the street, like I said, I had seen a lot of stuff, and I'm leaving gaps out, but I seen a lot of stuff up until that point. But now I'm living in the hundreds. We stay on 118th and Union, and I believe the inn was called. It was a GD inn. If I want to make this clear as I can for people to understand who's watching it, who may not know, GD stands for Gangster Disciple. And when I say an inn in Chicago, we didn't call it set. Yo set, yo set. That's West Coast. We call it the inn. What inn are you from? I'm from this inn. And we had names for our inns. Like the GD's called 119th Mayberry. I'm from 119th and Mayberry. That's what they would say. So I was out there on that end, and I used to hang around GDs, and I didn't know at the time. I had no idea that there was a GD BD split. As far as I knew, it was still BGDN, and I thought people would just shorten it and say GD. So and I'm at this time and age, I'm 11 years old. So I used to hang around them, and I was never a GD myself. I was just living there, so I hung around them. Chicago is very territorial. If you're from an area, then it's pretty much assumed that's what you are. But I was never a GD. I hung around a lot of GDs. I had a lot of GD friends, but I was never a GD. And this is where I would first. Now, mind you, I had seen drug dealing and all this before, but I didn't, I wasn't directly involved into it. There was a guy named Johnny Moulton. this is back. He was like in a grade under me, and he was the first one I seen. I I can't. He was the first one I seen selling drugs. He was the first one I saw bring drugs to the school. I went to West Pullman Elementary, so he had this big sandwich bag full of powder, and he was like, when we got out of school, we was walking home, and he was actually serving hypes. So I knew what he was doing, but I couldn't believe he was doing it. So he was like, "Oh, y'all, you ain't getting no money. You ain't getting no money. This, that, whatever." He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on to my brother. You know, you gonna get some money. He gonna show you how to get some money. This is what I do every day." And he was always fresh. I mean, the new shoes, clothes, all that. So I went to meet his brother the next day, and his brother was a GD. His brother he was a GD at the time, but his brother had flipped BD. And while I was dealing with his brother, now I wasn't selling drugs or anything. I was just going hanging around him because he didn't trust me right off the top. I'm a little kid. That's his brother, but he still want to keep me around so he can watch me. But in the process of that, he was the one who started schooling me on the difference between GDs and BDs and what was going on. And he told me he about to be a BD. So I had no clue. I was just like, okay, what's happening? Because the knowledge I knew before, it was all BGDN, all one thing. So he basically let me know what was happening, what was going on in the streets. He introduced me to Black Disciple Nation. He ended up flipping. When I say flip, for those who don't know, that means switching from one gang to another. He ended up flipping from GD to BD. So when he did it, he was teaching me everything that was going on. He was giving me the history. He was teaching me the prayers, the bylaws, the literature, and all that. So when SUAVE Boss said we spoke on structure, yes, Chicago was very structured. Even in my day, they was very structured, and people were saying some of the structure was falling off. But how I saw it, it was very structured. So, and when I was coming up, if it had fell off by the time I was there, then I can only imagine how it was before I was there, because we had some very strict rules that we followed. But anyway, with that out of the way, like I said, I went to West Pullman. I graduated, went to Finger, and at this time when I went to Finger, my family started unraveling. So when my family started unraveling, we bounced around a little bit. My mom actually took us down south for a little bit, and then she came back up to Chicago. When we came back to Chicago, that's when everything fell apart, and that's when I hit the streets hard and heavy. We came back up to Chicago. My mom didn't have a place to stay, and so at this point in time, she had to go to a shelter. In Chicago, the shelters were funny. You couldn't be a certain age as a male in a shelter. They would take women and children, but they wouldn't take males at a certain age. At this time, I was like 14 years old, and they wouldn't take me. They was like, no, he's too old. So my mom tried to get me me and my brother put in Pacific Garden, Michigan. Mission. Anybody know Chicago? Pacific Garden Mission is downtown as a shelter, but Pacific Garden Mission wouldn't take us because we weren't old enough. So we were in between a rock and a hard spot. We couldn't go with my mom and my rest of my brothers and sisters because we were too old, and we couldn't go to the male shelter because we were too young. We ended up on the streets. So on the street, we used to sleep in Grant Park. Well, not Grant Park. We slept in the parks more on the north side. Anybody know down on the lakefront? We knew that area because, like I said, we lived out there before. So we'll make our way to that area and we'll sleep in the park. After maybe a few days, my brother was like, fuck all this. Let's go to the guy I told you about who introduced me to that. So we go looking for him and we don't find him, but we find another one of our friends. So he was the one who actually was like, man, what was y'all doing all the time? Y'all should have came, this, that, whatever. That's how I got plugged into the BD. That's when I became BD at 14 years old. So when I became BD, at this particular time, drugs hit Chicago hard. So in order to make money, we sold drugs.
So let me interrupt you for a second there, Unseen. And I think that's a very important statement you made, and part of your real life story, brother. That it was due not necessarily because you didn't have people around you that love you and care for you, but that the situations of poverty and the circumstances that befall many of our people in this country forced you and your brother in a hard situation. And I'm sure your mom put her in a position where she had to do what she needed to do and make certain decisions in order to for the survival as a whole. So it kind of forced you brothers to really grow up at a very young age, grow up real fast. You understand what I'm saying? And learn how to be responsible for yourselves on the street. Not because you didn't have people or loving family around, but simply because of poverty that has stricken many of our people, and a lot of our people deal with. So it created certain circumstances. But go ahead. I think that was a very important part that I think a lot of people miss in this whole scheme of things. Because oftentimes I think people think that I often hear people say, well, how come the parents aren't engaged and we need to hold the parents more accountable for what their children do? You know, that's not everybody's story and everybody's situation. So I appreciate you bringing that out. So go ahead, and let me welcome my brother, servant of Yahweh, brother Real one to the panel. I believe that's who that is, right?
Yeah, Shalom. You hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can hear you, brother. Yeah, I can hear you.
So
all right, go ahead, Unseen.
Okay. So after this, we had came down to the Robert Taylor's because that's where our friend was at. And coincidentally, that would be where my mom would get her next apartment in the Robert Taylor's. But we had came down there before her. We didn't even know she would even get an apartment in the Robert Taylor's.
Right. And let me preface this real quick. I just want to jump in here real quick. And let me preface this. If anybody wants to, if you're not from Chicago and you don't have an understanding of what the Robert Taylor Homes is, it's just like any projects you still see standing in New York. They've pretty much gotten rid of all of them in Chicago. But you still see certain project buildings in New York. But if you ever watch the show Good Times, right? You ever watch the show Good Times? The projects that they show and the projects that they're living in, that was the projects of that was the Robert Taylor home projects in which this brother is speaking about. So go ahead, brother, continue.
No, actually, Good Times was Cabrini Green.
Cabrini Green, that's right. Cabrini Green, that's right.
Robert Taylor, just so y'all know, Robert Taylor Homes was the largest project complex built in the world. Not the country, the world. So if you look that up, you will see it was the largest project complex ever built in the world. You had miles and miles of these project buildings. They were 16 stories with 16 apartments on each floor. And you had miles of this. So just keep that in mind. So when we get to the Robert Taylor's, my friend is living in an apartment where there was a hype who had that apartment. A hype is what we call crackheads. But the hype rented her apartment out to the BDs. So if any of the folks, and when I say folks, I mean BD folks, that's what we call it. I'll explain that later. But any of the folks who didn't have a place to stay would stay at this apartment. At this apartment, I would learn structure, rules, regulations. It was not just a bunch of kids hanging out at an apartment doing whatever. We had older disciples, older folks, older brothers that would make sure we had rules on your hygiene. We had rules on your conduct, how you carried yourself. If one of the folks told on you that you didn't get up and wash up wash your ass, brush your teeth, and all that, and you was stinking and you was foul, you would get a violation. A violation is when it's a very, and this is another thing I want to get into because I hear things. One thing I've noticed that now that people are paying attention to Chicago and certain things getting out, I see things being misconstrued on the internet and people saying things they have no knowledge of and they're guessing on, and that's not correct. And they're giving this to the world. I think everybody from Chicago needs to be cognizant about misinformation being given out. A violation, when somebody puts you in violation, that means you have broken the rules. You have done something outside of the law. So what would be done is whoever had the function, now a function is a spot of authority in the organization. Whoever had the function over you would decide what your violation would be. Now, back then, a violation could consist of either you would have to do exercises until you fell out, you have to pay a fine, or you either get your ass whooped, excuse my language, or you would get your ass whooped. It depends on the severity of the violation. That's a violation. So when I hear people saying, oh, you got to violate them, saying things, and they're saying this means to kill somebody, that's not necessarily true. And I've noticed a lot of things being put on the internet that come from Chicago being misrepresented. So I just want to put that out there. But anyway, this is where I learned all structure, all this. I learned another misconception we have of these street organizations is that it's totally reckless. That is a lie. You had structure, you had discipline, you had order. Because if the person who had the function over you didn't keep you in line, didn't keep you in check, the person who had the function over him came down on him. So all this chaos and all that didn't used to be. But anyway, so me and my brother lived here. And when we lived here, lived in this apartment, we worked. The first thing we did was working at a heroin house. We worked over there on 47 and Wabash. And I believe I spoke on a situation that happened to us while we were doing that. At this time, my mom had got an apartment in the Robert Taylor. She got an apartment in 4848. The 4848 is a building in the Robert Taylor. All the buildings were numbered. You have 4848, 4846, things like that. So by the time my mom got her apartment, now we're back at my mom's house. And in this particular area, you had BDs, you had GDs, and you also had some Stones. They were MC Cobras, but MCs are Stones. So you had Black P Stones in this area. Not that much. The Black P Stones were few in number at this time. The main ones over there was BDs and GDs. GDs being the majority. So living here is when I witnessed the first major war of the BDs and GDs kicked off. I was there during the first major war. Now there were skirmishes before that, but this war would cause the rift between BDs and GDs to the point where I don't see no reconciliation in sight. Something I'm trying to push and get across to these kids out here. Don't follow the path we follow, because I've been there and I've seen it, and there's nothing at the end of it. But this war was the first major war that spread throughout the city. This is the first war. This is the first time I got shot. What I'm trying to get across to you guys is that what you see in these internets, these drill videos with these young kids flashing this money with this jewelry on and all that, that is not the case on the street at all. Don't get me wrong. There are some people out here making money, selling drugs or whatever, making money. But the vast majority of us on the streets, we not living like that. We living day to day. We not living like that at all. So never get it twisted thinking that, and I doubt, because I've been around. Luckily, when I got older, I was able to go to different cities. The position I'm in now, I'm well traveled, and I've been to different cities, different hoods, and all that, and I can see it, although it's not the same as Chicago, it's very similar. We're not out here rich with all this money, how they portray it in these videos and all that. That is a lie. That is a deception. Do not fall for that, because that is a trick. But getting back to Chicago. So the first war kicks off between the GDs and the BDs. And most people don't know this, but I'm gonna show you how we have degraded a lot. That war kicked off. This is 91. That war kicked off as simple as a Halloween situation. It kicked off right after Halloween. Anybody from Chicago, from that area, know I'm not lying. This is how the first major war between the GDs and the BDs actually kicked off. As far as I see it, as far as the end I was on, because it started on that end. This is where it started. Halloween used to come around, and what we would do is we would go buy a bunch of eggs, and we would have a little egg fight between GDs and BDs. And it wasn't a little, it was big, because you talking about a large area, and you talking about thousands of cats throwing eggs at each other in the street. It was playful. It was just something to do on Halloween. But this in particular Halloween, some people got egged that, took offense to it. And these weren't your average people. These were cats who were in the Gangster Disciple organization, who had high functions, high authority. And this is what caused friction. Right. It ended up into a fist fight. Fist fight ended up to going to get guns. Now there's a war going on. So something as simple as an egg fight, unfortunately, I have to tell the truth, started the first major war between the Black disciples and the Gangster disciples in Chicago in 91. This is what started that war. I was there. I saw what happened. I know the names of the Gangster disciples who got egged, who probably shouldn't have got egged, but they felt disrespected. This started that war. Now, Chicago, I mean, if anybody who knows Chicago, these wars are nothing to play with. Like I said, this is the first time I ever got shot in this war, the first war. It's nothing to play with. You had, now, before this, previous to this war, we were all cordial with each other. There were stones that actually, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm saying you're absolutely right. That's facts.
Right. Before this, there were stones that actually stayed in the building that I stayed in, where BD stayed. 4848 was a BD building. Stones actually stayed in that building. Not that many, but some. We were cordial with them. We were cordial with the GDs that was all around us. So before that, we were cool. We'd see each other. What's up? What's up? A lot of people knew each other. You have family members. I'm going to tell a story to show you the chaos that happens when situations like this occur. And unfortunately, it's a sad story. Like I said, we were cool. People were cool. You seen people wouldn't say anything. We'll shake each other's hand, whatever. But this war, when it kicked off, it unleashed a chain of events that some say cannot be straightened out. One case in particular, and I really don't want to get into names, but I tell you, there was a BD who had a brother. His brother was actually a GD. The GD's building, they had a building that was set right in front of my building. And to make a long story short, when the war kicked off, some BDs went in that building and killed the folks' brother. Now, he's a BD. His brother's a GD. And his BD folks, niggas he knew, went in the building and killed his brother. So this is, I say that to show you guys, this is how close all this killing is going on, even today. This is how close the people are who's doing the killing. They're actually literally blood brothers and sisters that's going on. Now, I'm not saying this is happening all the time, but it does occur. This is why I took time. I had to stop and think to myself, like, all the things I had done up until now, to this point, and I look at Chicago and I say, I criticize things that go on in Chicago, but then I have to say to myself, how did I contribute to what's going on now? And if I contributed to what's going on now, what will I do as far as reparations to help fix the situation? Because I contributed, I influenced people in these situations, in this gang situation. Also, another situation I want to talk on is people aren't seeing the unseen, meaning people don't see the ones who manipulate these gang situations behind the scenes. I want everybody to understand, when you dealing with these on the street level, and you're dealing with these organizations, these gangs, whatever you want to call them, you're dealing with young men who are not adults for the most part. They are not adults. Mentally, they're not adults. We had older members actually raising us. Our mothers and fathers were not there. And if our mothers and fathers were there, it was dysfunctional. The fathers were almost non-existent. My father, or the man who raised me as my father, he was on drugs. He was a Marine. He came back, he went over to Vietnam, got hooked on drugs, and came back. So when he came back, he was always in and out of the house because he was on drugs, and my mom wouldn't put up with it. So he wasn't, although he taught me a lot, he's the one who taught me to get up off my ass and hustle. So, but he wasn't there. He was in and out.
Yeah. So let me interrupt you there really quickly, because I think you just made a strong point, and I want Suave Boss to kind of pick up on this a little bit, and then see you can jump back in. So hold your thought there. You made a statement there that how your dad went off to Vietnam, and when he came back, he was hooked on drugs. Mostly were hooked on heroin, because we know this to be a fact. Going over into Vietnam, drugs was overly accessible, and then the racism and the stress, the post-traumatic stress that they were dealing with, and then coming back to a country from a war that basically the world saw that we didn't win, and then coming back to a situation where there were very few jobs, very few opportunities for these brothers coming back into the communities and trying to reconnect with their families, and then bringing with them also this chemical dependency with them, kept them out of the home. And so I think, but one of the most important things that you just spoke, was there how your mother had to make the hard choice to protect you and shield her children from that, her household from that. And not necessarily saying that the black woman didn't love the black man, as a lot of people try to say, or the black woman got an issue with the black man, but she simply had to protect her children. She had to do what she had to keep you guys away from that influence and that environment. And I think that oftentimes our black women who had to face that situation have not been given the credit, even to this day, of their strength in being able to do that. Because when you have to say, look, I understand you're the father of my children. A woman looks to that man for protection. She looks to that man to be able to support that household. But she didn't do it at the expense of just having a body around, or a man around, father or not. Simply said, because look, there's something more important than my fear of all of that, or my need of all of that, and that is to protect my children. Suave, can you speak on that a little bit, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for your testimony, big bro, and the transparency to it. Yeah, the one thing that we always got to think of when we talk about this is time frame and reference mentality, and general social acceptance at the time. Like, certain drugs were just the devil. You understand what I'm saying? And even now to this day, most of our relationships are abusive relationships. They're not healthy relationships. They have good points and you get good times out of them, but they unhealthy relationships. And it's not hard to improve your relationship when your spouse is a heroin addict. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of light because it's like to have a habit that you can support this, that, and other. But when it comes to like stealing from your girl and your kids, tripping out when you can't get none, you know what I'm saying? These are the things that people could face going through that. So yeah, shout out to the parents that saw the bigger picture because especially as a mother provides the father for the children and the father protects the children from everything. But that only goes so far when the father is the one that's hurting the kids. You know what I'm saying? By exposing them to stuff and this, that, and other. A lot of our structural needs come from our fathers. A lot of our relationships come from our men, our fathers, our uncles, male cousins. This is who later on in life when stuff get real, they help you fix cars, fix homes. Do you know what I'm saying? This is your team, your squad. So it's important who you have around that. So I couldn't tell you the mentality of a woman, but I could tell you what makes sense to me, how I look at what they do and how they figured out. And me, on the other hand, my mom's was the one who fell victim to the drugs after finding her sister murdered. You know what I'm saying? So my pops was the one who raised us and said, I need to get you away from that because I found the needle and I took it to him. You know what I'm saying? And he went to the court, got custody, all that, got us away from that. So that goes across the board because that's one of the untold, the less glorified lines is the father. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
not to take anything away from the point, I like we have to first of all have understanding you don't know what your parents went through. You can guess them, but you haven't sat down and listened to their stories, and you don't know what you would have done in those situations. So, and a lot of the fathers that did that, they understood. They understood. A lot of the men, like because they knew in their heart they didn't want to be that, but reality is hard to face. You know what I'm
Fact.
saying? And when you got something that distracts you from it, take you away from it, you love that. That's your comfort zone. It's not a parent's home. It's not a brother's home. It's this. It's this release of chemicals that that's just very unfortunate, man. So yeah, shout out to that stuff right there. But man, mind both sides to that gate right there, and it wasn't just drugs. It was other elements that caused the division and made one parent make a decision over another. So yeah, that was an excellent point. Go ahead, brother. I'm saying.
Right. Let me speak on this also. During these times, I also saw the evils that women do. Like I saw situations as an adult with adult perception. I can look back and I can see where things went bad as one thing, and I'm gonna jump on this and jump and keep going, but I'm gonna jump off of it right quick because I think this needs to be put right here. When I, mind you, like I said, my peers, when I was all around, we were kids. We were kids. We had older folks as our father figures. They were the ones out there teaching us. And sometimes they would have like hundreds of cats to teach. You would have like, depending on what organization you was in, whether it was a region or a governor, you had governors, you had ministers, you had co-ministers, you had enforcers. These men were teaching thousands of kids. I mean, thousands of kids were under their command. And contrary to popular belief, like they will have you believe, a lot of these men were family men. They were teaching us family structure, how to get things done, how to be responsible. It's not all chaos like some people want to say and how you see in a lot of areas today. It was not, this whole thing was not set up for that. But I want to speak on one issue I saw that was a problem, and with adult perception, I can look back and see that was also a problem going on in our community. As a young man, we, as the boys, we were sleeping and living in grown women's houses. This is a big problem now that I'm a grown man. I can look back and see it. You had 15, 14, 16-year-old boys sleeping with 30-something, 40-something-year-old women laying up in their apartments. That's also a big issue that I think young men should steer clear from and not get involved in, for the simple fact that now that I'm grown and I can see what friends I do have left that are not dead or in the federal penitentiary, I see how they live. I see how they living. They still have that boy mentality. They can get stuck in a mentality where what they think of getting on their feet is finding a female who got a crib, moving in with them, living off them, and serving at the same time, selling drugs at the same time. That was a problem that now I'm grown, I can look back and see that was a problem. I can tell you countless stories of my friends when the woman they were living with get mad, or her baby daddy or whoever would come back in the picture, she would kick one of our friends out or whatever. This is a problem. And this is what I would advise that any man listening to this who have young sons, make sure you teach your son to get out and get his own. Don't be so quick to go live with a woman. Make sure you have your own. This is part of the solution of getting your power back in this family structure. If you're gonna live with a woman, make sure you have your own and she comes to live with you. If you and I'm not knocking anybody who's trying to get on their feet and they meet a woman, they say, okay, we can do this together. If you're gonna do it that route, make sure y'all do everything down the middle. You get an understanding. What is your role? What is her role? Make sure your name is on that dwelling of where y'all living. But that's a big issue that we have yet to address in the black community, of these brothers, these young brothers in the inner city getting with these older women living in their apartments. That is not cool. That stifles the growth of a young male. Now he has in his head, a lot of times, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for what I saw. A lot of the brothers, when they got with these females and moved in their apartment, to me, it's like they lost the ability to do for self. Now they don't want to, either they don't know how, or they don't want to get out and get a place of their own. Because, hey, all I got to do is get with this chick and move in her crib. That's a no-no. But anyway, that could be a subject for another day. But that also was a problem I saw coming up. Like, I didn't know it was a problem then. For the most part, I thought, oh man, he got a place to stay. Oh, that's his crib now. As men, we looked at that, or as young boys, we looked at that as, he did something good. But now that I'm a grown man, I can look back on it and I see the effects of it. I understand that's a mistake, because I still see that going on with the little folks today. They still doing that, laying up with these females in their apartments, smoking weed, getting on live all day, playing PlayStation, whatever. No, these are the formative years where you're supposed to be putting things together to be on your own, to be a man. Because if you with this woman and you know what I'm saying, she's not, how you think she's looking at you? And then when she kicks you to the curb for the next cat, now what are you gonna do now? Most women, they're not gonna put up with you have a lot of women nowadays in the black community. Unfortunately, the situation as far as education is, black women is outnumbering black men in these colleges 7-1. Sometimes some areas even more than that. So now that these black women are getting this education, how do you think they're gonna look at you when you trying to just get with them to live off them, basically? So brothers, we need to get ourselves together. We can't, that's a no-no. And that's going on in a lot of inner cities, not just Chicago. A lot of inner cities, I see that happening. And that's something we need to change. We need to fix. But anyway, so let me touch on, now I'm gonna come back to the past, but let me touch on the things that are happening now in Chicago that I see. For the most part, I see a lot of the same things. It's like I said the other night on Judah's panel. I am literally watching the scripture unfold in front of my eyes. I can see it. Everything is a repeat. There's nothing new under the sun. You have a lot of these young men out here, even in worse situations than we were back then. Most of the violence you see over there on King Drive, Cottage Grove, all in that area, the O Block area, even on 63rd over there where the GD's at, all this area. Okay, one, most of these cats, there's this old block area, F, FBG Duck and all them, and old block and all these areas. Most of the BDs that are over there in that area, they're the babies that came from the Calumet buildings. Anybody who's listening that know about Chicago know about the Calumet buildings. These are the offsprings of the folks that was in the Calumet buildings. Now, their children are growing up. Most of them are either dead or locked up in the federal penitentiary. Their children are growing up. They're in this area of Cottage Grove and King Drive and all this. And this is what we're seeing now. This is all this stuff that's making the news, all this drill stuff. This is that area. So when I go in this area, because some of the folks that I know are still alive, I go visit them. I just came out of there visiting one of the folks. And I'm looking at them. We had a conversation, and I told them, I was like, man, Joe, remember folks of them used to tell us how it used to be back in the day? We are them now, meaning now we're the older heads. And look at the young cats now. It's like degraded, because we were sitting there talking about how certain stuff didn't used to go on in our day. And we talked to these young cats because he has 3 sons that are in this. Some of them you can see some of his sons in some of those drill videos. I'm not gonna call their names, but you can see some of his sons in some of those drill videos. And so we discussed a lot of things. And I was like, folks, remember we used to do that, folks, we'll never let this happen. This couldn't happen, this, that, whatever. And my anger started, I have anger for the simple fact that there are a lot of older BDs that's still around, and they don't try to correct these little brothers. They don't try to steer these little brothers. Stop putting guns in videos. What is wrong with y'all? That is one of the most stupidest things you do. Because now you bring in the feds and everybody, and that's another issue that I'm gonna talk about.
And before you move to that next point, you made the comment that you still have some of the old heads or the OGs that are not really intervening and stepping in and trying to correct the behavior of some of the younger brothers that we see out here on the streets. Why do you think that is, fam?
Well, you have a couple of dynamics that are in there as far as I can see that plays factors. One, you have a dynamic of a lot of the old heads didn't prepare for life, after the feds. That's what I call it, life after the feds. Because if anybody's listening and if anybody knows about Chicago's situation, you had major federal sweeps that happened in Chicago that took away, a lot of the structure, because a lot of the structure, unfortunately, had got intertwined with drug dealing. So when the feds came in, they did the sweeps and they took certain people away. Those were a lot of people who put the structure in the organizations. So when they took that away, they took the structure with it. So now you have a lot of old heads who didn't prepare for something like this, or they were some of the weaker ones who ended up getting on drugs themselves. Now you have another situation where you have some of the old heads who were prepared, who doing all right, and one thing people may not know, but some of this drill music is I'm just gonna be real, because hey, I tell nation business, I deal with the folks, because in a lot of ways they bogus for not stopping some of this stuff. Then you have the situation where some of the folks are cleaning their money through the drill music. That's not what's putting drill music on like that. It's just one of the elements. And these are the ones that I have friction with, that I argue with, because folks, why are you letting folks in them put these guns in these goddamn videos? That, you know, if we would have done that coming up in our days, we would have got dealt with severely. But folks in them are seeing the money aspect, trying to attract deals. Now, that's another element that's going on in the city. But that's no excuse. You don't let the young folks put no motherfucking guns in those videos. That's just like Duck, FBG Duck, and them dissing each other in these videos, talking about dead people. You don't allow, we did not do this stuff, period, because we knew the ramifications of doing it that would keep the war going. If folks in them called a peace treaty, that's what it was. Anybody caught breaking that peace treaty got their ass whooped, period. So, but now I see stuff is lax to the point where now you have all this chaos going on and nobody stepping in, intervening, telling these young brothers, no, that's not how you carry yourself. And I'll tell the folks who, you know, who's got some money tied up in this drill music, listen, by you letting them diss the GDs, and it goes both ways, even on the GD side, by the GDs dissing the BD, that's fucking up y'all money, because you never know if you build a fan base and you got people loving your music, and then you get in your videos and taunt somebody that's dead, that's a rival. Well, some of your fans might like them rivals, and they might have an issue with that. See, this is the part that where we stifle ourselves. We don't need to be dissing each other like that in videos. Okay, if there's a situation going on between the BDs, GDs, Lords, whoever, if there's a situation going on, then, you know, we don't need to get on camera and let that be known. I gave a reference to back in the day when you had Twister, Do or Die, and them. They never got in videos and in their music and rapped about killing rival gang members and mentioning the name of the gang. They would drop little clues about things that were going on, but they wouldn't come out and say, you know, such and such K or such. No, they didn't do that. And they were very intelligent for not doing that. And I try to tell people, look back to them and see the intelligence they had by not doing that. And look how their music went around globally because of that. But this is the situation we're dealing with now. And this is why I'm on these brothers as much as I am, because not only is y'all causing a problem, y'all fueling this violence. On top of that, y'all stopping y'all own money from doing that. If you trying to get a deal or attract people like Universal and Atlantic Group and all these people, y'all got to stop doing that. You hurt Chicago in a lot of ways, because here's a situation that I'm currently involved in, me and a couple more brothers. So right now, we trying to fund some brothers to put together their own studio. And we tell these brothers, it's GDs and BDs together. And we telling them, if y'all do this, y'all can't get in these videos with guns. Y'all can't rap about killing each other as far as putting BD, GD name in it. Y'all can't do that. You know, we understand y'all youngsters and y'all gonna rap about stuff that go on in the street, but don't rap about stuff that's gonna cause friction between the organization. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that, because you're not only hurting your own money, you're hurting the city, you keeping violence going between the neighborhoods. It's just stupid. So that's a situation that I hope bear some good fruit.
Yeah,
But
let me ask you this, brother, before you go into your next statement. Do you see there is a vested interest of a certain segment of the entertainment industry or overall music industry, like certain labels, to want to see this type of music, like this drill music, and capitalize off of it? So they're actually promoting the show of guns and drugs and violence in this particular drill music. Do you see
yes,
the music industry really pushing for that?
yes, I see that, and you know, and I can speak on it. Back in the day, you see, these music labels have been around Chicago for a long time. Let's get one thing clear. They've been around. You will be surprised of what these executives know sitting in these corporate offices about what's going on the street. This drill music and all, they know what's going on. They probably know better than the people who are blogging about it on the internet. They know. I'm gonna speak on this is back in the day when I first got introduced to Universal Records because some people out some of the BDs I was dealing with had got a deal from Universal Records. One thing I was fascinated by, I didn't understand. I'm gonna tell you a situation. Um, there was supposed to be a movie that was supposed to come out about the neighborhood of Inglewood in Chicago. I believe the name was Ladies of Inglewood or Women of Inglewood, one of the two. But that was going to be a movie that was going to come out in the 90s. It ended up getting canned. If anybody knows what can mean, it ended up getting scrapped. But one of the folks I was dealing with had got the contract for the soundtrack. So I was around studios and I was around musicians. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the times when certain acts used to come to Chicago, we would do the bodyguard work if they were around the BDs. Or, the GDs, if they were around the GDs, like people like Scarface and them used to come to Chicago and all that, and GDs would be their bodyguards. They would be their chaperones through the city. BDs the same way. If we promoted a concert or we put money in the concert to get certain artists to come, we would bodyguard them and we would chaperone them through Chicago. Also, as far as the music goes, I remember one day, one of the guys I was under, who was a major player in Chicago as far as the street organizations. This was one of the heads. He built the studio, and he had, basically Universal would send people to talk to him, to hold meetings with him. If he didn't go, because most of the time he would go downtown to certain places downtown and meet with them. But sometimes they would come out to his studio, the A&Rs and all these people, to talk to him. And one day I was in there, and one of those guys was there. I'm thinking, because I thought I recognized him, I thought it was somebody from one of the folks from the Calumet building. So I'm talking to him, and we talking, and I'm not really realizing this is not the guy who I think he is. But he's talking to me, and it seems like, he's just another nigga from the Shire. I'm thinking it's one of the folks from the Calumet buildings. So when folks in them make it there and the meeting's about to take place, I come to find out that this is not one of the folks from the Calumet buildings. I have mistaken his identity. This is some guy from Montana or somewhere. He's not even from Chicago. I don't want to say Montana. It was some crazy area that I wouldn't, at the time, I wouldn't even thought that he was from. But the way he was talking and his lingo and shit, he knew shit. So I'm looking at this like, how did he know all this? And this dude is from some spaced out area where I think white people live. Like, I didn't understand. I couldn't comprehend that. But then I had got by being around more often, I have realized these motherfuckers in these record labels, these companies, they put people in certain positions to know what's going on the streets. Because think about this. If you're going to put $1 million, $3 million behind an artist from the street, you're going to want to have some control over those artists. Not to mention, and something people may not know, that once you sign on to these record labels, you are now an investment to this record label. So they're going to put an insurance policy on you. So most of these artists you see that's on these record labels, the record label itself has an insurance policy on you because you're now an asset to their company. So as far as this drill music and all this, yes, I do believe they entice these young cats to make this type of music because, unfortunately, this is the music that's selling. So in order to cause controversy, yeah, they might, go ahead and mention, talk about all that shit you're doing. Talk about all that gang shit you're doing. Talk about the niggas, yo niggas done killed and all that. Because they're going to get streams. Back in my day it was record sales, but now it's streams and clicks and views. And they're gonna benefit off that. The $1 million, the $2 or $3 million they give these kids over a space of time and these 360 deals, that's nothing compared to what they're gonna make off of it. That's nothing. So yeah, I do believe being around these people and seeing how they operate. Now I can go into how I know they influence it by what I saw during my time in the studios around certain people from Universal Records. I know that these people influence the music. Sometimes they're right there when the music's being recorded and they're giving advice and tips on how to record it and what to say. Oh no, you should have said this. Oh, that would have sounded better. Anybody who's been around anybody with a major deal understands what I'm saying. I was there when the Cha Cha Slide was recorded. Y'all remember the Cha Cha, Mr. C, the Cha Cha Slide? I
Yeah.
was there when that was recorded. I've been around certain people. So what I'm telling you and the information I'm giving you is not coming from a nobody. Meaning, okay, I may be a nobody, but I do have knowledge on how certain things work. I've been there, I've seen it. I can give you names. If anybody from Chicago who think I don't know what I'm talking about, I can give you names to let you know, to verify. You can go ask them if I'm telling you the truth or not. The reason why I'm saying this is because I see these blogs. I see these people in these blogs talking about situations they don't know nothing about, and it gets on my fucking, forgive me, a lot. It gets on my nerves when I see these people who get in these blogs and they speak on things about Chicago and they have it all wrong. Either they done watch the documentary or something like that, and they think they know and they think they can speak on it, or they get somebody from Chicago to help them speak on something that they don't nothing about. You getting somebody from somewhere else in Chicago who don't know about this area over here in Chicago, and he's speaking on it, and he's trying to give you in-depth knowledge, and he's totally wrong. And this is the problem I'm seeing that's occurring on the internet. And to me, it's kind of like a phenomenon now that these drill rappers are on the scene and people are paying attention to Chicago. So now you have people speaking on Chicago and they don't know nothing about Chicago. Just because you watch the documentary and you know who Chairman Larry Hoover is and you know a couple names, don't mean you can speak on Chicago as far as what's happening in Chicago. You know, you can speak on
Right.
what you saw in that documentary, but you can't speak on the politics of the streets. Now let's get into the politics of the streets in Chicago.
Exactly. That's exactly where I wanted you to go. So let's put a pin there really quickly. I want to give my brother real one he's on the panel. You got something you want to say to us, brother?
Yeah, yeah. So it's true what the brother's saying, how like a lot of cause of this is poverty and how they divide like the family and stuff, especially when in the courts, like the system pretty much that's what they do. They take like the father of the family, and you have like coming up like me personally, like coming up like I'm probably younger than y'all right now, you know what I'm saying? And growing up, you know what I'm saying, I did see that like we got influenced by like they didn't show us the ropes pretty much. Nobody really showed us how it's supposed to be. And I guess one thing I'm coming from, like a lot of people might say like, oh, these youngsters they just hear shooting and everything. But like at the same time, like people are like they shooting on the younger generation. Like before, like my uncle used to tell me like it used to be just like fights here and there and this and that. Not till like the 80s and the 90s, like when the guns and the drugs started coming in, and up to now. Right now, it's mostly like what they promote in the music. Like they try to make it seem like cool, like oh with the guns, like like he was saying, like flashing, and then so in our mind is like oh that's cool, we're gonna be like that, and I guess that's what's selling, I guess, but the oppressors are the ones like influence our minds to do stuff like that, and they use our people to like you know let's influence them and stuff like that, but like I said, it's systematic oppression, and it starts from the top, and it goes from like goes from religion, it goes to the education system, because our people look for hope. Like our people are crushed, you know what I'm saying? They're suffering, and they want like hope and they want like something, but they don't understand because they've been lied to so many things about so many things, and then on their minds coming it would tell them, like for example, like we are the children of Yahweh, that's what they have to know, because Yahweh said that's important. But a lot of there's a lot of distractions that keep us away from that. and our people aren't really hearing that because they think that the other stuff that the oppressors have been telling us is the truth, which is not. And one thing I think is key to that is to expose these things, these organizations that really don't benefit our community within our community, and start building ourselves, like say learning centers, like the brother was saying, but like he made a studio, but don't influence to do like stuff they're supposed to do. That's something. I think that's something important we should do. And that will really like show the people that we care. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to care. The Bible says to stand up for those in need. You know what I'm saying? And especially the younger people that don't have their father. Because I grew up without the father. And like it's like hard for it's hard for them because the mom's probably working or and we're just in the street pretty much, and we don't have like nobody, and we find somebody else that like helps us, like that they're probably into stuff we're supposed to be into, but at the way they're showing us love, you know what I'm saying, like you know, and but now we know this stuff, we're supposed to be like, all right, let's show love to the community, you know what I'm saying? But like to show that who cares, so they can like see and not fall into the trap. Because this is pretty much what it is. It's the trap created by the system, and it's like, and what we snap out of that, like that's when like our
Um,
people are.
I agree with everything what you're saying, and
Mhm.
man, you make some valid points. And it's not just listen, people. We got to get this thing. We have to get this thing, man. That well, we understand systematic racism or racism. It has its lines, and we know who's above that line, and we know that everyone else is underneath that line.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? So black, brown, yellow, listen, we're all underneath that line when it comes to racism in this country and how it affects us and these institutions that are built around it. And so we have to understand that, you know, a lot of the things that we're fighting each other over, our neighbors over, our brothers over, that these things are being injected into our communities so that they can sit back and simply watch the self-destruction. And so, man, I appreciate your comments, brother. I want to welcome Unseen. I want you to hold on because I want to get into the politics. So keep your pen out. I don't want you to lose your thought. And Suave Boss, I want you to speak on the politics as well when Unseen comes back in. But I want to welcome my sister to the panel, Laya, the Chocolate Hebrew. I'm glad that the sister joined on the panel because I really wanted a woman's perspective on really what's been going on with this situation, and I'm glad you're able to join us. And now I think that as the
Shalom.
conversation has been and as powerful as it's been, without our sister's input and her understanding and how she sees things as a black woman who has knowledge and who's been in these areas and who has sons that she's raised, without having her understanding and her interjecting would have been the would have been the part that we always tend to miss a lot of times in these conversations. We would have lacked the balance. So I want the sister to introduce herself and just give us a little bit of what you've been hearing and your take on what you've been, understood so far in the realms of how this conversation is going, and let us know what you think.
Shalom, brothers. Can you hear me?
Shalom. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Blessings to you all. I pretty much agree with everything that Unseen was saying because I grew up in that same area. I'm from 43rd and Federal. And I have four sons now, ages 14, 11, 10, and 8. And the ages that my sons are now are the recruiting ages in Chicago for gangs, drugs, all miscellaneous things that children are not supposed to see. A lot of the children are being raised by the internet. They're being raised by the phones, the video games, what they see other children do at school. Am I against what they're doing with the corona stuff right now? Yes and no, because now that's put me back in the mode of homeschooling my children again, which they need that from the parents. Not saying that one brother, the brother was saying something about the fathers coming out being not being in a home, and then the sisters are blamed for that because we took on the Section 8, we took on the public aid, the food stamps, the cash. We took that, took the fathers out of the homes. The drugs took the fathers out of the homes first, because once the fathers went out there, when they weren't going into the army anymore, when they wasn't going to the 9 to 5 jobs anymore, that was the next thing that they went to. They went to the drugs. A lot of those fathers left the homes, and the mother was left there to raise the children. When she had sons, it was worse. It was worse. But a mother loves her son deeper. You can love your daughter. I love my daughters to the depth, but my sons, that's something different, you know. And those mothers being in that position with them loving their sons the way that they did, you know, they didn't want them to get hurt, but you had a lot of those mothers crying because their sons were dying. They were getting murdered. They were dying from drug overdoses. They were getting killed by the girlfriend or the baby daddy's boyfriend. That happened to my cousin Scarface. My uncle was murdered by Scarface's mother's new boyfriend. My uncle. So they cannot put that all on the sisters. It's a lot that I hear on this internet where the sisters are blamed for a lot. Brothers need to take accountability as well. Me as a sister, I take accountability for a lot because I did a lot in the streets as well. But that does not make me the woman I am today, because I didn't want to see my children go through the same thing, not just my daughters, but especially my sons, you know. And having 4 of them, am I terrified? Yes. That's why I left Chicago. I could not raise them there. I could not see my sons growing up being gang members, drug dealers. I don't even want to see my sons as rappers. They can't even listen to drill music. They don't know what it is, you know? So everyone needs to take accountability. And now, with everything that's going on in Chicago, I'm not far from home, and I do come back there. I come through there. But as far as me living there, I can't do that, you know. But what's going on in Chicago right now, there's more riots, there's more murders. The politics behind it, it's not just the gangs. It's definitely not just the gangs. There are politicians behind it. Like I said, yeah, the other day in the brothers chat, that there's one mayor that I know. I grew up with him. He was a mayor of a city outside of Chicago that was with the moles, ran with them. They did shit. I can't say too much, but they did shit. And it was from the point of his finger. And a lot of them folks out there suffered for that. Folks that I grew up with. I was a Fork on a Hustler. I had love for the folks, the moles, everybody. I didn't care who you was. It wasn't about what organization you was with me. It was about the individual, you know. So yes, there's a lot of politicians behind there. And there was a story that I was telling when Brother Unseen was speaking, and I told my story as well. Yes, we got pulled over by Chicago police, and they searched the car. They took our weed, they smoked it in front of us, and then they dropped all the black asses off in Humble Park. And knowing that Humble Park, we can get murdered fast, you know. So the politics behind everything that's going on in Chicago, as far as the gangs, especially with this new mayor now, I really don't know her, and I don't even think she's from Chicago, so she really doesn't know our city like that. You know, even when it came down to the lockdown, she didn't know how to present herself when it came to the lockdown. You couldn't control it. I can admit, one of my little cousins was on one of those videos of one of them wild ass parties. I saw her standing on top of a Chicago police car twerking. It went viral. It was embarrassing, sickening. I didn't think that was funny at all. They have no control. The youth has no control. They don't care. They're running around talking about that everybody killers now. They're killing everybody. So you being a GD, you being a BD, you being a four corner hustler, you being a vice lord, you being a stone don't mean shit. If you with that clique, they say you he would still kill you. You his brother, you his bro, you his G, you his mo, but he'll still kill you. You know, and it doesn't have to be for anything jealous. It's just they want to kill everybody. It's they have no sense of direction. If they don't have meaning for life, they're not going to have meaning for your life, their mother's life, no one. All you is another face on a t-shirt in Chicago. I'm gonna close out for a few seconds, brother. I'm sorry. I'm trying to handle my granddaughter.
No, it's all right, sister. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us and blessing your wisdom with us. And hopefully you can stay on the panel around, handle your business. We understand, jump in where you can.
Okay, I'll stay here. I'm on here. It's just I have
Yeah.
to take her back upstairs, but I'm still here, and I'll
All
jump
right.
back in when need be.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay.
And so I just, like I said, like this is the wisdom that we have to understand about people that are in the know, people that have actually lived it. We hear a lot of things from a lot of people who've never lived it, who've never experienced. Me and Unseen was talking. He and I we grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same elementary school. I graduated from the same elementary school he graduated from. You see what I'm saying? So I know the things that the brother is talking about is true. Like these are real life experiences. So when we hear a lot of these things, we have to understand that there's always a bigger picture, and they try to put everything, encapsulate this thing in just this one bubble, this lie of black on black crime, right? That not understanding that we know what fuels these things, right? Poverty and education, right? Poverty and the lack of education. So we understand that there are factors that these things are magnified in our communities, and they excel through racism and white supremacy. And so we have to really start to understand really what who our enemy is, right? And it's systematic. Its reach is deep, and it goes down even to the street levels. It's not just at the top. The reach is all the way down to the street level. And so when we think we're not all a part of the same chasm, and that it doesn't affect us all, regardless of what neighborhood you live in, what kind of car you drive, how much money you have in the bank, what you think your social status is, you're in the same microcosm of these things that are occurring that affects us all. It affects us all. So I want to get back to our brother Unseen, but Suave Boss, I want you to jump in, brother, and I really appreciate you being here, man, and your wisdom. I know you've been involved, and you're involved in the music industry at a level. I really want you to touch on the politics of that. And then I want you guys to really start, and then I want Unseen, after Suave Boss is done with that, come back in and let's discuss the politics as we see it on the streets. So go ahead, Suave.
I got you. I appreciate it. Yeah, shout out to the sister. Before I touch on that, I just want to take a slight opportunity.
Go ahead, fam.
To show you the footing that I had. I as I remember, I had my mother and my father. I had them both in separate homes. I was with my mother. She was a police officer. It was only me and my brother. She only had 2 children. She was a police officer. I told y'all she found her sister dead in the garbage, killed at the hands of another police officer. I don't know the details, but she quit being an officer and got into drugs. I found the needle, the whole little drawn at school, the pill, the drink, the needle. I found the needle. I told my pops, I told y'all. He ended up getting custody of us. He raised us. He remarried. This lady was on drugs. Uh, he worked at the steel mill, doubles and triples. She had 3 kids, and he was taking care of the home. That left her to watch us, and she didn't take to me much. I was a mama's boy. Um, my brother, that was my only brother. He was the older brother, so he was tired of me running up under him, and he found a relationship with our new stepbrothers, which left me on my own, which I just found the solution for. You know, the thing that we used to do, we got rocks from the alley, put them in my pocket, found a nice stick, and you would just walk like a nomad. And so that's what I did, and I ended up crossing a group of fellas who were GD. And I had nothing, I had no knowledge of the gangs at this time. But the street that I was living on was a vice lord street, and it was a well-known vice lord street. The street that I traveled to when my brother turned his back on me was a GD street, well-known GD street. Private. My bad. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Am I
Yeah,
back?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. And yeah, so the GD said know me. And so they had assumed I was the vice lord. You know, they was like, you know, one of the vice lord's little brothers. So they had asked me, and like, are you? Or they used the disrespectful word. And the way they said it, I knew I wasn't supposed to be it. I said no. They said, so you folks. I said, yeah. And they knew I wasn't. They was just like, so what they did was they jumped on me. And I fought back, and I took the ass whooping so well that they took me under their wing and started teaching me to lick this, that, and the other. And so I go back home to my older brothers, like I said, and talking the way I'm talking, and they started having a problem with it. And I didn't know why, but it was because they was under vice lord. So the family structure is what took me to the street. If my brothers was there for me, I can't say I'd have never got in the game, but that wouldn't have been an introduction to it. That's important because we talking about politics, and family is the most important politics you can have. Understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this is what this is about. Um,
Shalom. I think Ak dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he dropped off. Go ahead, Unseen. We'll wait till he come back in.
Right. Um, one thing I'm gonna touch on a couple things he talked about and what the sister talked about because she was right and exact also. Um, dealing with the politics of this whole matter. One thing the so-called black man is gonna have to come to grips with and understand that economics plays a major role in all of this. That's one thing I think that has plagued us and is going to continue to plague us and keep these situations going until we figure out a way to somehow become economically sound and independent to a large degree. Because as I spoke of a minute ago, um, so much of the structure of these street organizations. Wait, Suave boss is back. I don't want to cut his thought. Suave, you there? You can finish. I'll pick it back up after Suave finish because he had fell off. Go ahead, Suave.
okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's. I'm glad you said that. I'm not surprised, but I'm glad you said it. Yeah. So that's what led me to being introduced to the streets, to the gang culture. Um, the thing is, especially where I was from, when we was coming up, it was, and this was the early '90s. This was right when the BD thing happened in Chicago because it affected Gary. Because we had nothing but GDs and vice lords, and our GDs was under Chicago. That's where they had their meetings. That's where they got their lick. That's where the orders came from. That's where the food came from. Uh, and so then when this beef happened, It kept a lot of the structure because Gary fell as a priority, and it started being like freelance. You know what I'm saying? The people whose territory leader got killed or locked up, this, that, and the other, they was left on their own. They knew nobody in Chicago. They were there to just carry on what they was taught with what, so it just went from heck there. And so now I see the effect it has when that system fails on our youth, and now it's everybody killing. Because one thing that we was taught is that your nation is your brothers, is your sisters. They don't hurt you, they don't turn on you, they don't cross you. And so when this happens, you like we do with our parents and we do with the school and we do with the church, we get mad at the organization. A lot of times brothers flip, a lot of times brothers renegade, and stuff like that. So these are the other entities that came on where it came to the point where I don't care what you are, because I was folks in the folks crossing, so not anybody can get it. But all of this falls apart because of economics. This family structure, this national structure, is supposed to provide these things, and they were. They were providing a way for you to eat, for you to dress, and it was teaching you what to eat and what to dress. And like the brother was saying, hygiene, it's that all of the stuff that we missing, we were gaining in these organizations from people that we respected because it was honor there. It wasn't just like do what I say do because I'm who I am. They showed why. Like, so when a child can say, well, I could do better by myself. It's the same thing you do to the home. It ain't never no food at home. I could eat better if on my own. I got ways to make money to get food, this, that, and other. And so that's what it sees when it fall apart. A lot of the people that were serious about it, that were pillars in the construct of it, were targeted. So that leaves the people who were not as important, but were in the picture. And the next generation comes along and looks at them, and a lot of time their egos make them play that character. A lot of the times the realness make them say, you know what I'm saying, youngster, that's you know what I'm saying, that's not what I am. You know what I'm saying, that's not what it is. But a lot of people would take those young influential people and act like they Nino Brown. And now you have different sets, you have different sides, you know what I'm saying, of people coming up. Like rest in peace to FBG, like the brother said. These are the shorties of the folks who had that structure, who came up under the people who had that structure. So you gotta see the timeline and how it falls apart. And like the sister said, because we also speaking on politics, like the sister said, I've expressed this about 2-3 days ago when I was on the panel. You have to have cops in your organization. You have to have senators, mayors, governors. This was not the plaything that you see people glorify, because a lot of the time what we see is the gang culture or the street culture or black culture being sold to people not of that culture. They're interested in that culture. They're amazed by that culture. They will spend money to get as close to that culture as they can. And so here we go. When you know the hip hop industry is full of made gangsters. They're not street, they're not gangsters, but they were marketed as that, created as that. So now this is fine. That entity right there is like she said, she knew a mayor that was in. Well, this is the point of it, because you're trying to be a real nation, and you need the nation that you're in to recognize you as a nation to help you stabilize yourself independently. Same thing the Nation of Islam trying to do. So when we start turning on the authority was a problem. There's always been dirty cops, but we never turned like, well, we don't need the cops. No, we needed the cops. We knew that, and we had the cops. We had the cops. It's just the criminal when it comes from the political structure, economic structured system that you're trying to be, and it becomes completely just criminal. It's not even about the money. It's not about getting land. It's not about uniform and mentality or none of that. It goes down to personal gain or gain for small groups, but it's all basically rotated around one person who's the influencer, whether because he has the money or he'll cause violence. This is what we need to get a hold of. And I understand that there's a gray area, a gap, but we just have to make that sacrifice to start showing order amongst ourselves. And because if me and YARAH beef, the kids see that. If me and YARAH don't, the kids see that also. But we just don't glorify that. Because crap stick better than, So just getting a hold on our households, our relationships with our spouses, men and women and women and men, and start unifying the mentality in our homes, no matter where you stay at. Because like we say, we're nations without land, like we're scattered. So it's like the areas we control, like our home, when we come in our home, you take your shoes off. You wash your hands for you. That's law in all of our houses. There's no reason why we can't take that further and get back to what we was trying to do. Now, I I know that's kind of it causes conflict when I speak about organizations or gangs in a certain manner. I see them as legit. I see them as legitimate. The Democrats has killers. The Republican got drug dealers. Mitch McConnell got caught with a million pounds of cocaine in the boat he owned up under his wife's father. These people are so this the same way the Italian mob came up and became a legit part of the government. Same way the Irish did. All of these people were killers, bootleggers, prostitution on the, and they took they influence over groups of people and used it to levy for power politically, to be recognized so that we don't have to hide as a criminal element in the shadows. We need to take that serious. So if there's any other, specific points you want me to speak on, brother, I will, but that's all I got to say for right now. And I thank the sister because she has said a very important thing, and I wanted to speak on the other side of that, but it's slipping my mouth, so I'll come back to it if I get it. Go ahead, bro.
Peace, peace, peace. Man, well pointed as well. Go ahead, Unseen. Let's get into it, fam.
All right. Like I was saying, the politics of this, economics plays a major role in it. And economics, regardless if you're in a street organization, economics plays a major role in all our lives at this point. Now, as far as these street organizations, let me lay this out like this. And just remember, like, this is a lifetime of things that I would like to say that I possibly can't get in this short segment because as SUAVE boss would tell you and the sister would tell you, we were raised where you don't talk about nation business. Stuff you know, stuff you see, you never talked about it. The only reason why I'm starting to talk about it now is because what's the use in holding on to this stuff and not talking about it and watching stuff deteriorate the way it is? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm way past that now. I'm at the point where if any of the folks got anything to say about what I say about telling nation business, it is what it is. When you see me, I mean, it is what it is. But the economics and the politics of it lays out like this. Let me touch on what the sister said. When she said now you see these different people from different organizations running in cliques together, like you might see some Stones, some BDs and GDs all together in the same clique, or some Lords, some Foes, and some whatever, all in the same clique. It didn't used to be like that. Like I said before, the structure, when they came and they swept away, they went and got the leaders. So much of the economics was tied up with these individuals. Unfortunately, They were involved in drug dealing, and so much of the economics got took away. This is why you started seeing, like in the mid 2000s and all that coming up, you started seeing different people clicking up from different organizations, and they would call themselves cliques. Now, back in the day, I knew GDs allowed cliques, but it was GDs clicking with other GDs. So you had a group called themselves the Penthouse Kings, but they was a clique of GDs from different areas. But you never really had cliques of like a Stone, a BD, a GD all clicked together, and this clique is against everybody. It's everybody killer. You didn't have that until they hit the economics, because they hit the GDs first, then they hit the BDs, then they hit the Lords. I believe it was the Cicero Insanes when the feds came and got them after they came and got the BDs in the first sweep. But so once that economic situation, when they had a lot of the major players locked up and taken away, then you started seeing these certain gang members click up with other gang members and form their own little set. But here's the politics behind all this is what I've come to learn by going through these streets, talking to people, watching stuff happen, watching things play out. I'm gonna state this like I stated in the other live, Judah Nazareth's live. If you do not know, you have somebody in Chicago who really won't know the politics of what's going on because they're at a certain level. It's sort of how the structure of Masonic organizations are built. The lower level does not know what the top level is doing. They don't understand that. So you might have people from Chicago speaking on things they have no clue about, and they don't know the real issues going on behind it. This is how the structure of these street organizations are built. Fortunately and unfortunately, I had dealings with the top tier. I was around that. So I knew what was going on. And I can speak on these economics and the politics. In Chicago, one thing anybody across the world is listening to, Chicago is one of the most mafioso cities in the country, perhaps in the world, because you had all kind of Italians. Everybody came here. You had the Irish mob, like the brother spoke on. You had different factions of mafias all over Chicago. But even before, because people will point out Al Capone, but see, they don't talk about the black mobsters who were there before Al Capone. You have people like Sam Young. You know what I'm saying? These are the ones who Al Capone and them learned from. Al Capone came from New York, I think Brooklyn. But it was already organization in the streets of Chicago way before he came to Chicago. Like I mentioned, look up Sam Young and these other street characters, black street characters in Chicago. Chicago has always been a very political city. So what I found out and what I've seen, and I know this to be fact, we thought when they came in and they took away the organization, the structure, the heads, we thought they was trying to stop the street, because that's how they pushed it. Oh, we trying to do away with these gangs, and we're getting rid of the leaders, and they said that and they pushed that, so that's what everybody thought. But in actuality, what they were doing was wiping these leaders out, because these men controlled large territories of Chicago. So anything coming in on the street had to come through these men, had to get these men approval. So what they did was move these men out of the way so they can see it's all about capitalism. Well, as I stated before, I am not trying to tie these men's names being associated with drugs. So they looked at as well. We got Chairman Hoover, we got Marvell, we got all these different characters. They control these different areas, and that's not capitalism. Capitalism is, we should be able to come in there and the best man with the best prices win. How can we have capitalism if these guys are controlling it? So they wipe them out, and now it creates a free market. So all these mobsters who were on the street, who left the street and went to these corporate jobs, they never cut their street ties. They still have these street ties. Just like the sister said about the mayor who was doing things. And I pointed out the other day, you had Jesse Jackson's brother was a stone, selling all kind of kilos throughout Chicago. Jesse Jackson's own brother. And it's not just them, it's councilmen, it's congressmen. This is why a lot of the violence don't stop in Chicago, because it's not structured to stop. It's structured for the people at the top to get money from the people at the bottom. Rules of any society. In order to have an upper class, you must have a lower class. That's just the rules of the society. So what they're gonna do, you see all these cats who you go through these documentaries, all such and such, all these mob figures, yeah, they were hell back in their day, but now they've cleaned up their act and now they run this corporation, that corporation, they're totally legit. That's bullshit. These people are not totally legit. I know, I've been at the top and I've seen what goes on. These people in these political offices and all this, they still have ties to the street. You have police riding around Chicago that are gang members. You know, I spoke on this the other day. I know a Muslim dude who's a drug dealer, goes to the mosque, does the salat, all that, and he's a gang member, and he's a drug dealer. I know this. My sister-in-law was a CHA police officer. A CHA police officer, Chicago Housing Authority. Chicago's projects were so big and so terrible, they had to have their own police force. My sister-in-law, a woman who married one of my brothers, was a CHA police officer. Through her, knowing her, I got to see not only CHA police, Chicago police themselves who knew her, who would hang around her and all that, and I got to see the shit they was involved in. You got police officers at BDs, you got police officers at GDs, Lordstone, all these street organizations. They have police in them. These are the ones who, and a lot of those people have work on the streets, drugs on the street. It is what it is. A lot of these politicians do things on the street. You know, I spoke on this, and I'm gonna speak on it again because to me, there's no sense in holding shit back. I mean, I ended up getting shot because there was a congressman named Mel Reynolds who was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, and I just so happened, unluckily, be there to see something that was transpiring, and he saw me and had a problem with it. So he was the one who gave the word. I know it was him who gave the word to deal with me. I ended up getting shot over something I saw. So this is not no speculation, and no, I seen these things happen. I watched these things transpire. I took part in some of these things. So, like I said, this is a lifetime of stuff I'm telling you, or I'm attempting to tell you guys, that I haven't spoke on. I saw him doing something he had no business doing, which I thought was bogus. He saw me and had a problem because he didn't know me. I wasn't a part of what was going on with him in his circle. Now, when you look up Mel Reynolds, look why he went to jail the first time, and you will understand what I saw when I saw it. This is why he went to jail the first time. What he got convicted for the first time, I had personal knowledge that he was doing that before he even went to jail. So I know these politicians. Even if you look at some of the people of the organization that I was under, when the feds came and swooped them, look at some of their partners that were politicians. So we can't put on blinders and act like we don't see what's actually happening. And like I said, if any of the folks got a problem with me speaking on nation business, I mean, it is what it is. Most of them dead, most of them in the feds. And if anybody sends somebody after me for speaking on it, let it be. But the problem I'm seeing is we are not, if you got that much effort and influence to send somebody after me for telling on what I know, why can't you send somebody to get these little shorties in order? Stop motherfucking putting guns in videos and stop, it's just simple stuff that we can implement ourselves to help turn the situation around. Now, I know the problem of economics is going to be there, and we have to figure that out. But we can't keep going down the wrong path as far as chasing economics to fix it. You got Irishmen from the north side of Chicago got dope on the streets in the south side and the west side. These Irish people are legitimate people owning real estate and businesses. You would have never thought they had street ties, but they still do. That whole fantasy of the mob got out of the streets and went completely corporate is a lie. They have ties to the street. They still move packages in the street. There are very few brothers who have actually traveled somewhere to secure work. Most of the time, brothers don't travel to secure work. Work comes through these people. It's the same thing that's been going on. It's still going on. This is the economics. This is why they took these leaders out, because they want to expand beyond these guys. They saw it as we need an open market. We can't keep, because these individuals that were in power, they set rules themselves and imposed them on these people. Well, if you're going to move your stuff, how you going to move it? You got to deal with me. So they got to the point where, no, I don't have to deal with you. I'll wipe you out, and then I'll go free range. That's why you see different people in organizations clicking together, coming up with these no love clicks and all that. Everybody can get it clicks and all that, because they're going to, a power centers. So they're going to revolve around whoever got the work. That's who they're going to revolve around. That's who their loyalty going to be to, because that's the ones that's feeding them. You see, this is what's happening in Chicago. I'm gonna give it to you in the raw. I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing. I'm not gonna hide nothing. This is what goes on in Chicago. At this point in time, this is the politics of Chicago. You have, back in the day, you only had a certain amount of individuals bringing work to Chicago. And those certain amount of individuals dealt with only a few individuals. And that's how the work got distributed all around Chicago. But now it's a new day. Those old players ain't there no more. So now at the top, it's like an open market. You have different entities bringing work into Chicago, and they giving it to different factions. And not all these factions are together. So this helps fuel the violence, fuel the lack of structure, because these cats coming up, they don't know those structures. We had laws that you had to learn. We had prayers that you had to recite. We had all these things in place that you had to do. But now, if you walk up on any one of these guys, these young shorties in these organizations, and ask them to spit you some lit, say the prayer, they won't even know what you're talking about. Only reason why they're GD or Vice Lord is because they friends are. See what I'm saying? So the structure is gone. You know, we had certain things we had to do. If you was not going to school, you know what I'm saying? It was a time when folks didn't catch you in school, it was mandatory you had to go to school. But if you didn't go to school, you better have a good ass reason why you was not in school. And even if they gave you a
Right.
pass of why you was not in school, you best believe you was doing something productive for the nation.
Constructive.
And if you weren't doing nothing productive and constructive for the nation, then you had a serious problem on your hands. But now, like I said, the whole economic structure is so split up. And you have different people coming in, getting their work off, because this is capitalism. This is what they wanted to see. They didn't want these handful of black men controlling the streets to the point where now they can influence you and tell you what they was going to pay and what they not going to pay. They moved that out of the way. Now there's no structure, no leadership. Now they come in, and now it's capitalism, free range. This is what's going on in Chicago. And like I said, you have all, like the sister said, you have all these politicians playing a part in it, with their hands in it. This is why you will never see Chicago gang violence and all this end, because it's not structured, unless you take away, because people want to, all you blacks, well, y'all don't have to sell the drugs, which is true. You make a choice to sell the drugs. That's true. But at the same time, when you're dealing with poverty, it's going to be very hard to convince these brothers and sisters not to do it. So you must deal with the influencers as well. I'm telling you, why do you think? Let me tell you something. Why do you think Trump has sent those FBI agents to Chicago, and then just now lately he said he's going to send about 150 more FBI agents to Chicago? Trump knows that it's not just the street organizations. They keep sending FBI agents to Chicago. They know it's not just these street organizations. They know it's political people behind it. This is why he's sending the FBI. The FBI is not coming just because of gang violence, meaning they're not coming just because of these shootings and everything. Remember, they sent the ATF in there for the guns to figure out how the guns was getting in. Then when the first FBI agents came, they came with the ATF. So now Trump, not too long ago, said he's going to send 150 more FBI agents to Chicago. Why do you think he's sending all these FBI agents to Chicago? Because he knows, those people in the White House know, this is more than just a street level. There is a structure on top of that that's fueling this. They know it's politicians doing it. Be it he's doing it for political reasons to knock out Democrats who involved in it or not. They know who's doing it. They got a full grasp of who's moving what on the Chicago streets. And that's politicians, that's police officers. Like I said, if you look at the organization I was under and you look at when the FBI swept them, pay close attention and watch some politicians pop up. How is this happening? Because this is the way it's always been. It's always been like that. I didn't know that when I was coming up in it at the ground level, but when I got around certain people and I started seeing certain things, I started seeing what it really was. Economics is key. How do we provide economics for ourselves without falling into a trap? That's key. Because without economics, these young boys ain't gonna listen to you. Why should I listen to you? And don't get me wrong, I'm never will I turn my back on the scriptures. No, never that. But I'm saying these young boys is looking at it as, why would I listen to you when you ain't got nothing for me but telling me about something in a book about, some God, when dude over here can help me get some Jordans, some clothes, help me get my cell phone. Because most of these young cats, I can't stress this enough. The stuff y'all seeing in these drill videos and all that, that's an illusion. Most of these young cats ain't living good like that. They living hand to mouth. They struggling. They'll get clean to get in a video, but after that video, it's back to the block. So it's not like we living out here balling. Yeah, you got a lot of people out here making good money on the street. But that's just, if you look at how many cats are on the street, that's a drop in the bucket. Again, economics. How can we economically sustain ourselves without falling into a trap? That's the bottom line. Because we seen it when the leaders got knocked off. Unfortunately, they were caught up in drugs and they was making millions and millions of dollars. But when that economic structure got knocked out, so went the discipline structure because it was connected. Unfortunately, they had got connected to each other and they knocked it out. Now that's gone. Now you have chaos, and here they come in with their capitalism. Free range. Now we can move our dope to anybody. We can go directly to the source. And that's why you have all this confusion, all these different people clicking together, creating these cliques where they fighting against everybody, anybody, even their own. This is what you're seeing on the street level today. This ain't yesterday. This is right now. What's happening today? You have the leaders gone and a lot of politicians in them got middlemen filling those voids. They're never going to leave money on the table like that. The mob never really got off the street. They got off the street, but they always kept a back door open to the street. And this is what we witnessing right now. These young boys, I know because I was involved in the shit. I mean, I'm telling you what it is. I still see it today. I'm still around it today when I choose to be around it. Not on no bogus shit, not on no shit where I'm participating. I'm trying to tell brothers, hey, look, here go a plan right here you can do. I'm trying to get them to doing what I do. I'm trying to get the young shorties, okay, I'll invest. Me and a couple other brothers help y'all build a studio, but y'all can't be rapping about killing the opposition and all that crazy shit, starting trouble and shit. Like I came on here on the internet like a while ago. They say, hey, look, I got a little business. Hey, anybody need a job, any brothers trying to get on, I can help you, this, that, whatever. Just reach out to me. Nobody reached out to me. But that's the things you gotta face when you dealing with certain brothers. That's the stuff you gotta face. Stop all this stupid shit as far as, and I keep saying this, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cuss. I'm working on that. But I keep saying this. This is one of the biggest problems. Folks, some of y'all need to come in, step in, and help get these brothers under control. I understand economics is key, but we need to do something because all this little silly goofiness, these killings going on over silly shit, that needs to stop. How do you have disciples killing disciples? That is mind-boggling. I didn't understand it when I was coming up. And I remember one of the founders of BGDN, not just BD or GD, one of the founders of BGDN pulled me to the side one day and was like, what are y'all out here doing? This never happened in my day. You got disciples killing disciples. And I listened, but I had to deal with reality at the same time. We had a war going on with the GDs, but I took note of what he was saying. And now I'm at the situation where he was at, where I can see it and understand what he was talking about. You have a organization eating itself from the inside, and you have people on the outside of the organization nowadays controlling it from corporate boardrooms and all that, just watching it happen. I mean, I can tell y'all some things, you know what I'm saying? Really, like I said, I got a whole life, my life, and this ain't got nothing to do with no clout or none of that crazy shit these young boys talk about today. But my life was the life that you see in these music videos and these movies where these people are pretending. I know that everything ain't peaches and cream. Just like I was around millionaires, around some people you would not believe I've been around, I've also been broke, sleeping on a woman's couch, all that. Locked up, shot up. You know how many times I've been shot? So I'm trying to tell y'all the real of what's going on. Don't get confused when you see these videos of these people flashing guns and rapping like they living the life. That is not true. Most of these young brothers nowadays running around, they essentially heroin addicts. They own lean. Lean is synthetic heroin. We gotta contend with lean and social media with these brothers.
Yeah, let's talk about that, brother. I want to, man, great bill, man. And again, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And Claim, I see you on the panel. But we're gonna go through this thing. Talk about lean, because I'm gonna start winding this down, and then after this particular part of the discussion, we're gonna try to talk about what do we think some of the solutions can be, or if you think there is a solution, right? But let's talk about that. How much of an effect does lean have in all of this, especially these killings and the violence that we see? And anyone can speak on this, but how impactful is it? And then really, let's talk about really what that is, right? Really what lean is, because I don't think a lot of people hear these terms for the listening audience, but they don't really understand a lot of these things. But it's from my understanding, it's a major issue. It's a major problem. And it's in main it's in and the problem is it's in mainstream social media. So let's get it. Go ahead, Unseen. It's on you.
So like when you look at the history of it, in actuality, this is something that's very old. It started in prison, and my father used to tell me about it. Now this is way before now. My father used to tell me, um, because my father was in a situation where he was getting in a lot of trouble. So back then they would give you the option of either you go to the military or you go into prison. So he chose the military. But while he was locked up before he got his court date and decided what he was gonna do, um, he would tell me stories about jail and how they used to get drunk in jail. They would either make hooch or they would use cough syrup. So he explained to me how cough syrup used to be. Because remember, there was a point in time where they had scaled back putting certain chemicals in cough syrup. So he explained to me back in the day, you know, such and such cough syrup would get you drunk, and we can get it in jail, and then it get you high and all that. So in actuality, drinking cough syrup goes back to, it's like a jailhouse drink from back in the day. Now, as far as today and how it's affecting, like, I mean, it never went away. Like some people will say, I was talking to some guys the other day, and they said, oh, this came out of Houston, or this came from Texas. They was started doing this. Well, no, it was actually everywhere. Now it did get popular once again when they started adding certain things like promethazine and codeine and all this stuff to it. You know, they came up with these synthetic drugs for heroin and synthetic cocaine and added it to it. So it started getting popular again. This lean situation is going on in Chicago. Now, mind you, this stuff is kind of expensive. Everybody can't get their hands on it, so to speak. But however, you got brothers who will work all day, hustle all damn day, just to try to get their hands on some of it. You know, from what I saw being around the youngsters, they sell it by lines. They have like a jar. A lot of them I see get those baby bottles because they have those measuring lines on them, and they pour it in there, and that's how they sell it. That's how they measure it out. I kid you not. This is what I seen. Maybe somebody else did do it different, but this is what I'm seeing, and that's how they measure it out. And you have these cats, like I said, they'll hustle all day and just straight spend all their money on this stuff. To me, it reminds me of back in the day with hypes. So now I remember another incident that happened. Well, I ain't gonna say when it happened, but it was an incident that happened not too long ago. Some folks was going to do some dirt. So when I got wind of the situation, I'm standing outside and I'm talking to somebody, and they like, yeah, folks them finna go woo woo woo. And I'm like, man, why folks them finna do something stupid like that? Duh, duh, duh. Man, folks them rolling out. I go to the car where they was at. All these motherfuckers leaned out. So now you got these cats high, doped up, going to do, and that's one thing. Like I said, I got an interesting story. When we used to go do dirt and what we had to do, whatever, when wars was going on, situations, we tried not to be high because we had certain orders. Like, okay, if this is what you got to go do. If you don't do it, when you come back, you're in violation. So therefore, we had to go do what we had to do, and we had to make sure it got done correctly. But these young cats now, this is why I think the death toll is so high also, because you have a lot of these young cats high out of their mind with these guns going to do stuff. That,
Right,
they don't even know what the hell they doing.
right, right, right.
So yeah, and it causes a problem too, because like I said the other day, some of these cats ain't even keeping up on their hygiene, fucking with this lean. Some of these cats are nodding off while they talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Some of these cats are showing up to these functions. We having a function. Some of them showing up high. Then we have to whoop their ass for showing up to the function high. And now we got a fight on our hands because these cats don't understand why we coming at them for being high. You don't show up in no session high. This is against the rules. What are you doing? But see, again, when the structure is gone, they don't know the rules. They trying to do what they want to do. And this is the problem we having. Because it is some of us out here trying to rein these little niggas in. But at the same time, you got some of us is out here that's not doing nothing, letting it go on. Some of these brothers, one of these brothers, I'm talking to him. I'm thinking like literally, and then I'm not trying to be funny or trying to, I'm talking to this brother and I'm thinking while I'm talking to him, I'm looking at him, I'm thinking he got lean in his mouth because he's gone off that lean. He's telling me he gone off that lean. So I'm thinking like he had lean in his mouth because I'm seeing red in his mouth. So while he talking, but as I'm standing there looking at him, I'm noticing that's not red from lean. His gums are bleeding. So I'm like, folks, what's wrong? What happened? So you get hit in the mouth or some shit? Oh no, folks, my bad. And he covered his mouth and shit. And he's telling me that was a problem he's been having ever since he started fucking with lean. And that he's losing teeth. So I'm looking at like, folks, if that's a problem you having, why you keep doing it? Because I had never heard of no lean, making people lose teeth or no shit. But I'm asking them like, why are you doing it? Oh no, folks, it be straight, folks. I'm gonna go to the dentist, and I'm thinking to myself like, dude, you like a 19-year-old height. And it blew my mind, like, because back in my day, if you got caught doing heroin or cocaine or something like that, you was bogus. And you got dealt with. Pumpkin heads was coming down. But now, you got these cats, and it's accepted and tolerated amongst them. You see them getting interviews and videos talking about how much lean they drink. That's the problem I'm seeing. Like, it's like heroin has come back in a major way. Just like we dealing with the crack babies from the 80s and 90s now. In the future, we're gonna be dealing with the lean babies and the Molly babies and the X babies. I'm watching the cycle keep going. But go ahead. If anybody want to speak.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'll just say yeah, man. I believe like the chemical dependency. The math's been done on that. The worse of the life, the worse of the high you need. Like some people pay to zombie out. Some people pay to literally like fall asleep on their feet. It's like the lean. Another thing these youngsters doing is the synthetic marijuana. It's gas station weed. Like they're smoking this stuff and falling asleep on the spot. I just see people. I've shown it on my lab. People outside the bank, at the bus stop, outside of McDonald's. The fact that people don't have a real answer to the real questions drive them to these things. I see people who are less, like that are better financially. They do lean and it doesn't result in the same things. I believe even a sober man in these conditions, it's just how do you cope with it? So I believe, I'm one of those people I see when things get better for people, they depend less on cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, sex. They have less time for that. And I got to the point where I've quit smoking completely. I've had times I've smoked a blunt a day, a half a blunt before I go to work for 12 hours, smoke a half a blunt when I come home, freshen up, eat, go to sleep, do it all over again. You know what I'm saying? So we just really need to create something, a better option. A lot of us have like the education, the education of starting businesses need to get passed down. A lot of us as grown men are getting patted on our backs for stuff that we shouldn't be too proud of because it's like patting a 40-year-old on the back for learning the ABCs. And I know the hoard of information. I know the lack of information that's being allowed to us, but it's here now. When we talk to the youngsters, we should be talking to them about starting business, getting these line of credits, these corporate entities, this, that, and the other. My mentality, I have brothers who have different mentalities, and I respect it, is that you have to let people hit rock bottom. You have to let people hit rock bottom. You can't enable them, none of that. You have to let them make an option. It's either choice. It's either that or this. And if
I
it's
agree.
that, then be 100% that. Don't run to the street and then run to mama house when the street get inconvenient. No, you're a street person. Go find an abandoned building. Ask when your homies let you sleep in the car like I did. People will make a better decision. Now, with a lot of the brothers that they do have money, they're not broke, bro. They could go buy. They spend it on stupid stuff, but they got a means of making money, and especially now that they tied into the rap stuff and that this is being sold. But the younger brothers and sisters don't have that. And if they get taught a game, a legitimate game, they don't gotta hide their face. They can do this publicly, open up doors and create relationships. They'll influence the older brothers and sisters to be like, man, because I'd rather do that. Because a lot of them don't want their little brother and sister doing this. They just know ain't nothing else. You better do this. You better do this because this is the most protection you gonna get. You know what I'm saying? You can't be out here on your own. I wish it was another option, but it ain't. So they try to hold them from it as long as possible. I very rarely, but it does happen. See people just full-fledged from a child start shake up like this. Oh, look at that. But I've seen it, but that's not the general mindset. So that we know the wrong. You understand what I'm saying? I just think we need to go ahead and sacrifice because a lot of us didn't have a lot of things. And we need to come to reality that we're not. What we need to do is create a lane for our sons and our daughters to have those things in greater. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's more valuable in their hand, especially if you teaching them the right mentality. You know what I'm saying? And your baby's gonna take care of you. I don't know how many of y'all are parents. I'm assuming every, but that's what children do. That's what you did for your parents. You know what I'm saying? So that's my throw in on that, man. If we could just take the knowledge we got about starting businesses, and I don't care if they're 12, 13 selling t-shirts online, wristbands online, shoestrings online. It's the practice that is valuable, not actually the money they're making at that time. It's the
Right.
practice. Because if they're doing this at 12, 13, 10 years later at 23, they're known for this.
Right.
And that's just something I know is going to be beautiful in the hands of our children. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for those that are realistically in line and in goal for those things, get it. But don't leave our children out here by themselves because you want to drive the, you know what I'm saying, the brand new shit and what is it? It has to be some type of sacrifice. And oh, this was the point that I wanted to say. A lot of the organization members were getting recognized politically, whether they liked it or not. Some of them purpose, like right. Some of them had the mentality. I have people back. If I really wanted to run for mayor, I could run for mayor. Some of them had that mentality. That's a threat, especially when we're socialists. Especially when we say, "Well, give it all to me, and I'll take care of everybody. I'll make sure everybody eat." It's not, the buy-in, buy-out game. That's the threat that made them say no. Take them and put these people in position of influence and have them speak against that. They turned our leaders into villains and threw some villains out there and marketed them as our leaders. To this day, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, and so
Right. I
there you
agree.
go. I'll pass the mic.
Let me build on what you said, what you were speaking on, because that's a pertinent point. Um, if you remember, they stripped like schools used to have like workshops in them where you could learn a trade, whether it was being a mechanic or all kind of things. School, if I know it seems like a lot of people won't even remember it. Some people will, but if you just do a little research, you will see schools used to have like vocational trades in there that you could, you know what I'm saying, you could learn. They stripped that away. So once they stripped that away, because I hear a lot of people saying, well, these young kids, they don't want nothing, they don't want to do nothing. Back in my day, I used to do this, I used to do that. But when you look back in your day, you see you had opportunities. You had, they a lot of boys and girls clubs ain't even around no more. So a lot of things have been stripped away, even in my generation. So now I look at this generation now, and then you have a lot of businesses that no longer exist. Like, some places you could go get like you a little McDonald's job or something like that. They started erasing that when I was coming up. They started wiping that completely out. So now today, you got a lot of McDonald's and Burger Kings and all that around, but they feel those jobs are full. So again, it goes back to economics and how do we build economics for ourselves independently. And I would suggest that we have gotten to an age, and this is kind of hitting on what he was talking about, what brother SUAVE was talking about when he was like teaching the youngsters about businesses and having them create their own businesses at young ages. You see, a lot of these other people, Caucasians or whatever, who are well to do, what they will do is, they sell us this dream, go to college and you can become any and everything you want to be. Follow your dreams. If this is your desires, go follow it. But when you look at the wealthy, the people who are well to do, who have wealth in their family, when they send their kids to college, if their kids go to college, because most of their kids, they teach them about the family business and they pull them in the family business at a young age and they condition them to take over the family business. Now, if they send their kids to college, they send them to college to further the family business. They don't let them, oh, what do you want to be? You want to be a doctor? You want to be a... No, they tell them what they're going to be. Okay, the business needs to expand this way. You're going to go to college to learn this so the family business can expand that way.
Right.
That's what they do. And we need to get that mindset as well. I'm not telling brothers and sisters don't go to school to try to be doctors or anything like that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is do what's going to help you. You know what I'm saying? Once you get something under your belt to where it's like I tell my one of my sons, I was like, listen, because he told me what he wanted to do. And I told him, get a trade. Make sure you get a trade. And then once you get that trade, then go do what you want to do. Because regardless of what you want to do, succeeds or fails. If it fails, you always got that trade to fall back on. Nobody can take that skill set away from you. No matter where you go, you know how to do this to earn a living. And that's the mentality we need to get in our heads. And if we start businesses, like the brother said, we start businesses for our family, we need to make sure our family knows, listen, this is our lifeline. This is what we do. Go to school and learn how to do this. Help the business grow. You can go to school afterwards to learn something that you have a desire to do. But as far as a family unit, you need to go learn this to help this family unit grow. That's the mentality we need to get in our minds. I see so many sisters and brothers, mainly a lot of sisters, who have went to school, went to college to be something that they don't even do. They're not even interested. All they can say is, well, I got a bachelor's in this or I got a master's in this. But what are you doing? You're working at J.C. Penney somewhere. You got a master's degree.
Right.
What are you doing? Well, I'm going to go back to school. And go back to school for what? You know what I mean? We waste it's like a waste to me. It's like the ones who have the opportunity to do things, they waste it. But yeah, I just build on the brother said. What the brother said was right and exact. And if we focus more so, like he said, if we start businesses and we teach our young how to run these businesses, we keep it in-house. Okay, if you're going to go to college, go for this first to help the business. Once you get that established and the business is, profited from it, then you can go be wherever and do whatever you want to do. Then that's how we're going to grow, because everybody can't be a rapper. You stop the average cat on the Chicago streets nowadays and ask them what they want to be. They'll sell you a dream like, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. But in actuality, when you look at them in life and look at what they into some drill stuff. They ain't even really focused. They just coming off the dome telling you something. It don't even make no sense. They have no direction. That lets me know you have no direction. You just regurgitating something you seen on TV. You actually have no direction. And a lot of our brothers, I can't stress this enough. If it ever is gonna turn around, we gonna have to get ourselves in order. We can point the fingers at the sisters all day. And I'm not giving the sisters a pass, because like I said before, I've seen the evil they do. I know this. Growing up, I have a lot of sisters. And I've even seen dirt my mama did. So I tell the truth down the middle. Just like that whole R. Kelly situation. My thoughts on that is very controversial because I call out everybody. But we can't, if we are men and we know sisters doing wrong or whatever, we can't use that as, well, they all messed up. And, yeah, you can vent and talk about what you don't like. But at the same time, a grown man, he's going to vent, but he ain't got time to keep focusing on that. He got to make moves to be the man that he is. You can call out a sister for doing something wrong, but don't spend too much time on calling out sisters for doing this or doing that. Get yourself together. Because once you get yourself together, you're going to be a very attractive option to that sister. Therefore, now you got the ability to lay down some laws on what you expect and what you don't expect. Either she going to deal with it or she not. Either way, it don't matter to you, because it's going to be a million more sisters behind her wanting to deal with you. So stop pointing your fingers at these sisters. I seen situations going on with the situation with FBG Duck and his mama and the criticism she was getting online. And me personally, I agree. She does not act like a 50-year-old woman. But at the same time, she's a woman. And these are grown men. You can say, okay, you don't agree with that. But at the same time, you still got to be a man. You got to do man things. If you the head of the household, then be the head. Don't be somebody, on the sideline. Yeah, you ain't no woman, and you a bad mother, you a bad parent. Just observe the situation, see what you see, identify what's wrong in the situation, and learn from it.
And
Make
help
sure
it.
you're
And
not.
if I could piggyback off that, bro, because that's
Go ahead.
hard. And I want to say this: there's a way to scrutinize and judge. Just take that in mind. But to the brother, like the brother FBG, right? I saw the clip with his mother. This is like her third son, I believe. Her last son. I didn't understand why she still stayed where she stayed. Our value system, when the drill scene is more important in your mother's life. He had a chance to save his mother from losing her last son. Now, I don't know the mentality, so it's not specific. We can't help that. I'm speaking for present and future references. You don't do that. You don't have your mother lose children and then keep yourself in that position. It's supposed to be better. Some people worry about the female that they tell you they don't like, but they currently sleeping with more than their mama. Like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I respect the dead. Y'all know that. That doesn't disallow me from speaking on it. Our brother got killed in the shopping area. Like, what are our habits? You see what I'm saying? For high fashion clothes, our value system is what needs to be readjusted, man. What's important? What's valuable? And that and I mean, we got so many categories to fine tune and get back in order. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lost battle. It'll never be a lost battle. But we gotta be G about it. We gotta be real about it. We not tolerating certain things. And it doesn't matter how it hurts you, how you feel. It's not about feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us have
Right.
sentimental ties to things that murder us and kill us. And like I said, our spouse, like 90% of these relationships need to break up. I'm not lying. That's how I feel. 90% of these relationships, you need to be honest with the person you with and let them know. And then allow each other to go find somebody that you're actually healthy with. Because it's not just about being, most of us just don't want to be alone. A lot of women are comfortable in their misery. A lot of women are
Right.
comfortable in their misery. They don't want to be with this man, but they don't want to get with a worse man. At least I know he just gonna take my car, be gone for 3 days, and come back high. You see what I'm saying? So that's another thing, and just the respect that we have for our women, man. The over sexualization of our women, the like anything, like we're men. You could put whatever you want in front of us, but we have that choice. We have that choice, and when we gain the influence that I'm not, we're not attracted to that. We're not attracted. That doesn't make me want to make you my wife and have kids with you. You see what I'm saying? And provide a home for you and help.
Right.
Like, we just got to get on our game, man, as men, and like we said, how we was coming up, bro. We just need that order back. We need that law back. We need the economics back. We need the hygiene back, the education back. All of these things, like we need morgues to make sure that our people are handled properly. I don't trust them. We need mechanics to make sure that our people aren't taxed and like stupid when they need their cars fixed, because transportation is, and especially with our women, a lot of the times, if they got the money, they'll pay. They don't want to know what's wrong. How much does it cost to fix it? And other people who don't care about them, they top dollar.
Right.
Like,
Right.
these are the things that and when you have a business, people that know how a business run, when you put money into a business, you get that money back. You get that money back. So these are ways that we able to help our family. Like, I'm a family mechanic. So when my family come to get their car fixed with me, like if I ain't got to charge them, I don't charge them. Because you already know anything that you put into it, you get back in a lump sum. Like, it's ways around it. And that's the social aspect. That's why it's a threat. Go ahead, big bro.
Right. Like I said, man, and you what you was touching on is right. Our morality needs to get in order. I mean, it's like we dropped the ball. See, like back in the days when I was coming up and I was learning about, the organization I was in and the people in the organization, I was surprised to learn that back in the 60s when Martin Luther King and them used to come to Chicago, these brothers marched with them. It was the street organizations that gave them protection and marched with them. You know, it was Chicago. Chairman Fred Hampton, he was the one who started the lunch programs and the free food programs and all that. These brothers was like 19 years old. These was young boys out there doing that. Jeff Fort and them, they was teenagers. Teenagers. Larry and David, these were kids. And look what they was accomplishing. You know, they had free food programs, shoe programs, you know, all this. So when I look at that and I look at the young age they were accomplishing all this, I think Chairman Fred was what, 21 when they killed him? This,
22, big
yeah,
bro. You
something like,
understand what I'm
yeah.
saying?
He was a young man. He was in his teens taking over the Black Panthers in Chicago, doing all these things. Look at, like I said, Jeff Fort. When he started out, look what he was able to accomplish at 19 years old. They took over a whole street, built stores, legitimate businesses and all that. When they tried to come at them and said they used that drug money, they used that to buy drugs, but then they had to drop the case because they couldn't prove it. Rockefeller and them was dirty, man. These cats sent money into Chicago, but they sent it in through the hands of dirty individuals. So they kept the bulk of that money. See, and that's another thing. We want to focus on what's happening in Chicago now, but we don't want to focus on the past. But like the old saying goes, if you don't know the past, you're doomed to repeat it. So you have to go to the past to see how Chicago is structured, because it has not changed. Only thing is they done wiped out some of the leaders of these organizations, but the politics still remaining the same. These and the cats who really got that money off that, what was it? I forgot how much that grant was. I want to say like $100 million or something. But the real cats who got the bulk of that money, they built Baptist churches all up around Chicago and all that. They these big time preachers and all this in Chicago. That's where the money was funneled to. See, there's another aspect in all this. It's the church aspect, the religious aspect. And for that matter, there's other organizations that need to be talked about in this, meaning, and people might get mad, but the Boule organizations, because they have direct ties to these street gangs. Nobody is talking about this, and I know they doing this. It's a fact that this is going on. I've seen it. And when you look at the history of the street organization, these organizations pop up at the genesis of it. So there's a lot of things we need to take into account when we look at the violence today. And it's, to me, the solution is getting our moral compass together and getting our economics together. We need those, and these ain't the only solutions, but these are two key solutions. Because once we have our morality together, and once we can be economically self-sufficient, then we on the right track. But right now, you have young kids killing each other over disrespect and clout. This internet, I'm telling you, once I'm all while I'm dealing with these young brothers through these streets, in 20 minutes don't pass before I'm seeing them on their phone, on Facebook or Instagram or something. This in itself is like an epidemic. I'm saying, like, how in the world you Facebook and you going to put in work? Y'all on Facebook Live, I'm seeing this shit thinking I'm gonna knock this nigga head off when I see him. What is you doing? I seen you on the internet while you was going to do that crazy stuff. Like, you know, it's just, brother, I'm overwhelmed by it when I deal with it. It's like some of these brothers listen, but a whole bunch of these brothers not listening. And to me, I understand you can't save everybody, but it kind of saddens me because a lot of the ones that's not listening, I knew their parents. I knew their fathers. Like I spoke on the other day, I watched one of my friend's son get killed the same way he got killed. If you look at the crime scene photos, they in exactly the same position sitting in the car, shot in the head. That's some eerie stuff to see. Like, you know, but I don't know, man. We got to get our morality together, and we got to get our moral compass and our economics, because without this, these are two things I'm noticing that is the downfall of those street organizations that was founded on doing great things for their people. And now it has turned to something that not only do you have these outside forces controlling, now you have social media controlling it. I've never seen somebody join a street organization through social media. This is the weirdest stuff in the world. This is mind blowing. And then you see these older cats who was in these organizations who done found some celebrity, whether they was drill rappers or whether they was, you know, on the internet or whatever, and they keeping silent about this stuff. This is the problem I have. And I don't want to call out no names, but it's a lot of them from Chicago. Well, that's the Shy. No, that ain't the Shy.
Mm-mm.
You old as me. You know what this is. You know what you was raised on. You just gonna let it roll? Like, come on.
In
I don't know.
Chicago, and I've said this before. To me, Chicago is the most important city in the United States, on many aspects, and that's what, because when you own land, you don't put your most important things on the outskirts. You know, you keep it in the middle, and you put false decoys on the outskirts and put big, pretty lights on them so that they seem important. But if something happened to them, nothing really happened. You see what happened? Let what happened in New York when 9/11 happened in Chicago.
Right.
Like it was it's, you know what I'm saying? That would have had a different impact. Um, Chicago has always been the spine of this country politically. You know what I'm saying? Even talking about indigenously, when we talking about just when stuff was coming into creation, the people who came from there and went to the west or went to the east and down south. If you do a lot of the research, a lot of these people that you impress with are directly from Chicago. It's insane how many people come from Chicago that, you know what I'm saying, you thought they would. So like, it's I just need us to really, we need propaganda. So we need the music. We need to start putting out music that has our message. Media people who do videography. We need to start putting out these visuals. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Right.
um, books. A lot of us are hooked on being a rapper. Writing is very profitable.
Right.
And the stuff that you have to write about, no one else is. Trust me, nobody. You know what I'm saying? You might have to change names and this, that, and other, but I'm talking about to the kids. To the kids, it's never too early. If you can read and write, you can write and read. So
Right.
it's just we need to mature and step up and change the
Just
scale at which we are proud of ourselves. Go ahead,
now
bro.
let me piggyback off what you just said. Now let me show you how the degenerate. I mean, how it's even falling apart from even our generation at the speed it's falling apart. Remember when they came after Larry Hoover and the GDs? If you remember, they had an episode on America's Most Wanted. Remember that TV show America's Most Wanted with John Walsh?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, they had Larry Hoover and them on that.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what they pointed out about the GDs. John Walsh was saying that the reason why they can't totally crush the GDs was because Larry Hoover's wife. He was like, she was the only thing standing between total annihilation of the GDs was Larry Hoover's wife. So when they looked at his wife and they was, putting the business on that episode, they were showing all of the businesses the GDs had, legitimate businesses. GDs had a clothing line. They had all kind of businesses. Now, where's that today? We don't even see that. We got these brothers and sisters spending all this money on clothes. Duck, rest his soul, got killed down there in the shopping area in front of a clothing store. But you had GDs with clothing businesses, meaning they was putting out their own clothes. They had their own brand of clothes. And that's not all, just several more businesses. You know what I'm saying? They on that episode, they told how much money Larry was worth. They told how much money they found when they raided those houses. Where are those businesses today? You see how it's deteriorating even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like that structure right there is missing. So it's not the fact that we didn't have business minded people, is that we need that again. That needs to come
Yep.
back and be reinforced, because these street organizations have some brilliant brothers and sisters involved in them. I kid you not. Very brilliant brothers and sisters. But I'm just pointing out that if we don't stop this and do something or try to put a dent in this, it's just going to keep going downhill. As many instances I look at and I see things have deteriorated on a level back from when I was doing it to a point of no return. And I say, okay, that's dead and gone. but I need to figure some way out, at least to tell this brother or this sister how to, you know what I'm saying, not fall for that and sustain themselves. Cause that's the only thing they looking at. They looking at these rap videos, they seeing these 50 cents and all these drill cats with all these diamond chains on, and that's what they want. They get all this ambition build up, and they have no other way to do it. You see what I'm saying? So if we can think of a way, like you said, we do need the propaganda. Maybe we can get some brothers together who know how to do graphics and things like that, and put the, you know, we can put it like this. We have the knowledge to start our own trade schools if need be, because we got brothers and sisters out here in the real world doing these real jobs. So we have that knowledge to do it. We just need to get organized and figure a way to get these young cats to listen to us. Because once we do that, that's half the battle right there. We get them focused on owning businesses, putting in the hard work. Yeah, you may not have this now, but one day if you stick at it, you're gonna have it. That's half the battle right there. We can argue about other stuff later, but now we got to argue about these economics and getting our kids off this dumb stuff.
Right. Definitely. I agree with you, brothers. We're approaching up on the 3 hour mark on this show, man. It's been very informative. And what I want to do at this point is that I want my brother, Real One. I know you've been on the panel, man. You've been very patient, man. Letting the brothers go, and I appreciate that. So I want you to kind of give us a little bit in your closing, and then I want Unseen for you to go ahead after that, brother. Real One is done, and then Suave Boss, I want you to close us out now, and talking about solutions and what you think about the situation, man. Just really get into it, man, and let's hopefully, man, we can get a this was informative enough where we can start having more of these conversations where we can talk about solutions and actually what's going on. Because one of the things we need to do is stop believing what we hear in the news media cycles and them telling us about what's going on, and let them tell us that we're just natural born savages and not understanding all of the intricate parts that play a role in the demise and the dysfunction of our people. So we really need to talk about this on this level. It's very important we have this discussion on this level, because it's at this level where the solutions is going to come from, not from the top down, but from where we are. I'm not going to even say the bottom up, from where we are as a people as a whole, and build. So that's why solutions are going to come from. So definitely go ahead, Real One.
All right, sure. So like basically, so much of the solution that I've been seeing, like, is basically within the scriptures, and I got some scripture to talk about that, is Ecclesiastes 5:8. If you see the poor oppressed in the district, and the justice and the rights denied, do not be surprised at such things. For one eye is eye by one that is higher, and one is higher over them both, is still higher than them. So right here is saying that it's like it's a pattern. It goes back, like it's not just that the cops. Like I was hearing how the cops, like, it's true because it's happening over here too. How they set up the youngsters and then take them to different neighborhoods. They're another gang too, and they work for the courts, and then the courts work for these oppressors, these bankers that control the money system. It all goes back, and if you study the origins, it goes back to Edom. You know what I'm saying? These people that are on top, that control, that Howard don't like, those are the people that are between those two. They control the music industry, they control pretty much everything, the money, how our condition, our education system, and and also like you guys talking about teach our people what's going on, like how to treat each other, and that, and from like you were talking about how all these religions, they have an in the mind that have us like trick thinking that is a book, just a book, but it's not just really a book. It's a book of Yahweh, and He's put His teachings to us to benefit as our community. And primo he stands for this. I'm gonna read Jeremiah 9:23. This is what Yahweh says: and let not the wise boast of their intelligence, or the strong boast of their strength, or the rich boast of the riches, but let the one who boasts about this, they have the understanding to know me, that I am Yahweh, who exercise kindness, justice, fairness on earth. For on these I delight, declares Yahweh. So it's basically pretty much telling us that stand up for kindness, meaning treat each other right. You know, our brother how we're supposed to, like from all the tribes, because that's pretty much what we're fighting about among ourselves. You know, so it's one thing we have to teach, and justice, meaning go against these things that oppress us. For example, we go to school in this education system, but they don't teach us who we are. They don't teach us pretty much anything. If our children have any understanding since they were young, who we are when they grow up, like even older, they have a mindset like, oh yeah, we're this. They have no understanding. So like that's what we didn't get. But now that we're more aware of it, of who we are, where we come from, and stuff like that, that's one aspect like it should work. Because some people don't have like, they have no like hope, like they don't have no like perspective. They're just stuck in one area and they don't see like who they are, so they don't have the understanding of meaning what they're gonna do, because they don't understand who they are, where they're going, and what we're gonna do. You know, and they have to understand that we as a people, like we are the creators. We are the creators' sons and daughters. We are Yahweh's daughters and sons. You know, and we have to understand that. And once do we understand that part, we get away from all this religion, because religion pretty much means the worship of, means to hold back. You know, and to like the worship of idols, luminaries, and the reverence of false powers, and nothing, which is atheism, pretty much. It's all these man-made ideologies. And what you see at the scripture is not to hold us back. As to tell you, Yahweh is to elevate, and He's present within His people, you know? And like what I was saying, like we have to like understand that, you know, that we have to trust in Yahweh pretty much. And it tells you in the scriptures, in Zephaniah 3:12, and I will leave with you and afflicted and poor people, and they should trust, like meaning trust, like put all things down, like that doesn't benefit in the name of Yahweh, you know, because I'm speaking from experience, you know, because there's a lot of things that, because our people, we're smart people, and we know when getting played, you know. But once we realize stuff that, okay, like when they come at us with these religions, we already know it's not. When they come at us with atheism, we already know what's up. But we still have faith in a creator, you know, in some form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? But we don't have the understanding of who he really is. And once we give the understanding of who Yahweh is and what he stands for, then people will actually come back. You read that in Isaiah chapter 19. It tells you how they're gonna trust in Yahweh, you know, during these times, you know, because if you look at it, the prophecy, like the brother was saying, you can see those scriptures revealing within themselves, you know, it speaks, you know, and it's not just a book, it's a spiritual book. Because we have to understand it, we have to say, we have to go back to the language. We have to understand the meaning of it. And we have to like, because they gave us virgins, but we have to understand, like we have to put the together and let the spirit work. You know, Yahweh said He will send us His set apart spirit to His sons and daughters, and that's pretty much what's happening. And that we're gonna remember His name, and it's happening already. So we have to trust in Yahweh. That's one thing we have to do, and and as it relates to building like build businesses and stuff, first we have to, how are we gonna do that first? You know, first we have to come together as a people, and then after that we go, and afterwards like we'll be stronger, you know, because then they're just gonna be greed and all that stuff, you know. We just have to be solid, you know, and that's what Yahweh God means. A God pretty much means one and unity, you know, Yahweh God. That's what it pretty much it means. And they have to understand that and let go of our ideologies and like not be proud to like, if they're wrong or right, we have another understanding, you know. Because Yahweh is like merciful. You don't go with that religion, human sacrifice, you know. Yahweh says he stands for justice, you know, true justice, you know what I'm saying? That's how he gets down, you know. And we have to reflect that on our people, you know, and show kindness to them, you know. like stand up for the low and the poor, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. And hopefully the brothers like they are in these the street gangs or on the streets, like they realize that it's not just fame, it's not just money, it's about our family. And once we get our family structured together, and it tells you how to deal with the women in the scriptures too. So that's the one thing that we have to understand, because there's the man, the women, and the children, you know and even polygyny will work on our community, because we're poor, and if we have multiple wives, they'll support, like, well, one could take care of the children, that way the children will be by themselves, and one could like help, like work a little business on the side with her, what I'm saying, just work, what I'm saying, together as one, and that will bring
Con.
that family structure more together, you know and there's so much, I'll let the brothers talk, I'll be here all day, but you know that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Just keep the faith, and just keep going. How you can help the people, and how you can.
Con.
Come on, appreciate that. Go ahead, Unseen, and then Suave Boss, close us out, family. I want to shout out first to our sister, Layada, Chocolate Hebrew. Definitely come back on. We're going to definitely do a part 2, sister, on this topic. We're going to bring everybody back. If they're willing to come back on, Brother Unseen, Suave Boss, Real One, definitely come back on. We're going to chop it up some more about this and get more in depth in this and really talk about solutions. But I believe this is a conversation that's been overlooked for too long in everybody's community. Suave Boss, I know you're always on it. Unseen, I know you're always on it. And so we definitely need to all come together and sort of use whatever our respective influence is and reach among the people, make this thing happen. So go ahead, Brother Unseen, man. Again, I appreciate you, man, for being so open and candid with us. We need that, brother. We need that in this community more now than ever before. The transparency and really to see and the courage that it takes to even come on and speak about these things the way you did. Because as you said before, a lot of people don't even have the heart to even come up and do the speech and give what you just gave, family. So go ahead, rock out, family. Then Suave Boss gonna close us out. Let's rock.
Con. Shalom. I want to also give a shout out to Sister Leia, the Chocolate Hebrew. I mean, may y'all be with you and your family. Let me say this. I told this the other day, and I'm gonna tell it again. And I want to set something up off this. These are facts. Like, this is not speculation. These are facts. This all came out in a couple of court cases back in the day. You had Chicago police officers dressing up like gang members, doing drive-bys on the Stones and all that to make them think the GDs was doing it and to start a gang war. This was done so the property value in these areas, once these gang wars kick off, the property value in these areas drop tremendously. And at the same time, what they would do was raise the insurance rates on these properties. So the black folks who lived in these properties, they can no longer afford to live there because the insurance was too high. So they would have to sell. They would move out and try to sell for, now they have to sell for dirt cheap. The University of Chicago, Illinois would come in and buy all this land up for dirt cheap. And basically, you done gentrified the area and just robbed these black folks, took their property right off from under their feet. So if we know these type of things happen, and they will do these type of things because they've done it. One thing I said before, the old tricks are the best tricks when it comes to dealing with the Negro, because it always works. All you have to do is dress it up to look different. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. So if we know this, and we see what's going on today with all this, the marching, these riots and all that, and this Black Lives Matter movement, which we understand, like I told somebody, we know, like back in my day, we organized and structured ourselves. And we didn't do just killing in the street and all that. Anybody can look this up. We organized ourselves, and the BDs and the GDs organized marches and demonstrations on Statesville Prison when they was mistreating the brothers up in Statesville. Thousands of us went out there to Statesville. You know, we had that organization. Look at 21st Century Vote and how the GDs, BDs marched on downtown Chicago. And it was a couple more organizations had something to do with that. But look how we marched on downtown Chicago. We have that organizational skill is within our grasp. This is something they fear from us because they know Chicago is very disciplined when it comes to the street level. Well, it can be. They don't want that. They fear that. This is one of the reasons why I think they fear so-called blacks and Latinos in Chicago, because they know that all it takes is the right individuals in place and we will organize and mobilize. This is what they fear. This is why they put these groups in front of us like Black Lives Matter. And I'm not just saying they did it just for Chicago, but these people are heavy. You have people heavy in Chicago like Black Lives Matters and all these other groups. And then you have these community activists they give to us as leaders. We all seen them. They popped up around the Kanika Jenkins thing, and they here and there. And every time there's a shooting, they pop up and they speak. I forget that guy's name, but if I remembered his name, I'd call his ass out. But this is the same thing they're doing when they did with Al Sharpton and them, Jesse Jackson. Remember, the old tricks are the best tricks when it comes to these Negroes and Latinos in these urban communities because they always work. And this is what they're doing now. So don't fall for the okie doke. If you want to know what's going on in Chicago and you don't know nobody from Chicago, I advise you to do extensive research. And you will see it goes deeper than just some gang banging on the street level. Most of our brothers and sisters on the street levels are pawns in the grander scheme of things. But like I said, man, I can't tell you guys everything I know that I've learned in my lifetime dealing with them streets in Chicago. Some of them things I may not can tell you, but most of the stuff I'll tell you because, like I said, at this point, it is what it is, and I'm fed up, especially with some of the guys that's still out who ain't stepping up, who aren't saying nothing about this stuff. I know a lot of stuff that goes on in Chicago from the past even to now. I still know. I know who's in charge of what. I know all this stuff. And like I said, if you got a problem with me speaking on it, then you just got a problem with me. Because y'all ain't infecting these shorties. Y'all ain't getting these shorties in order. And that's the problem. I'm not saying it's the major problem, but things that are within our grasp to control, we not controlling it. And we need to do better on that. And as far as the other entities, like I'm telling y'all will be surprised. Now, mind you, just like I just said, the University of Chicago, Illinois, how they did the dirty stuff they did to snatch their properties. Look who's tied to the University of Chicago, Illinois. Ain't that where Michelle Obama from? Just look at what's going on around you and be cognizant, because if your eyes open, you will see there's a game being played and you're just a pawn in it on a lower level. And if you live long enough, like I've lived, and you granted that life to see some of it, because I don't know everything. All I know is what I've seen, and that's a lot. So if you granted life long enough to see and get a grasp on what's really happening, then you know. Now, I don't care what belief system you're under. Me, myself, personally, I know I'm an Israelite. So therefore, I pray. I fall back on the scriptures, and I pray that I didn't curse my seed to the point where there's no return. And I try to help people and teach them the things I didn't know. Knowledge is a big part of this, because if you don't know, how you going to do better if you don't know better? So anybody that's out there listening to this, don't look at them brothers and sisters so negatively. I'm not saying you got to love their actions and the things they do, but get to the root of the problem before you cast stones at the tree. Go down to the root and see what's going on with the roots of it. And there you will find, people who don't even look like them controlling them. And with that said, brother, I thank you for allowing me to come on. I'll come back. Just reach out to me anytime. Peace to everybody on the panel. SUAVE boss, we're going to chop it up later. Peace, real one. And everybody that's listening, just ponder on this stuff we talked about. Because this, I'm pretty sure, is not just going on in Chicago. It's going on in other major cities. Just ponder on it. These people you see, like I said, these guys you see with these badges on, these white men who step up to these podiums with these funny hats, these police captains with a chest full of medals and all that. These are the ones who control the streets. These are the ones you're sending their kids to college by their backdoor dealings. Don't get fooled and say, oh, yeah, well, he worked hard and he sent his children to college. No, he's working and buying boats and okay, I'm going to give everybody a homework assignment. If you look up some of these politicians and you look at some of these police captains and all that, try to look in their background as far as what's available publicly as far as their finances and all that. Then you get to see some of that stuff. Some of these people own stuff that they can't afford on their salary. How do they own this stuff? This is why, in my opinion, why Trump sent them feds in there. We so dumbed down, we don't even see the obvious, what they see. But anyway, Yahweh Akkad, I hope you brothers do well, and I'm going to let it go. Shalom.
Hey, peace and blessings to you, man. Yahweh Akkad, man. Hey, Unseen, we're definitely going to do a part 2, fam, as I said, and we're going to go in, man, a little bit more and mix it up again, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I know we was going to try to rock out yesterday, but I'm definitely glad you're a man of your word. You came on, stuck with it, and we're definitely going to get it in at another date, man, and continue this conversation. It's very important that it's had and that we look at it from the ground up. So SUAVE boss, man, close us out, family. I appreciate you coming on, man.
I already got you, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Do your thing.
You know, this is my thing, man. This how I recharge. This how I refill. So I do appreciate chopping it up with the family, the sister, and the brother.
Make sure you shout out everything, man. AOI doing, man. Everything you got going on, SUAVE. Make sure you do that, man.
Okay, off top. Yeah, solutions, man. Economics. Like I said, think more creator, not consumer. Notice the state of emergency that we in, and that you cannot afford certain luxuries and privileges. And if you want your children or the lineage that comes from that to be able to do so, a sacrifice must be made. So right now, what I say, and you could take it, is not new, it's not mine. I title it because I'm me, but for economics, yeah, stop participating as a consumer, being a sports fan, being a music fan, buying things that you can't afford, certain clothing, just cut out the luxuries, the sports tickets, and start focusing on being creators, establishing that EIN number, that line of credit, those corporate entities that allow you to be able to say, I'm not using my money to provide for me. Teach that game to as many people as you can. Stop using your fictional character as a debtor. Use your corporate entity as a debtor. They like it better. They have a better that entity has a better relationship. Social, like I say, really study, really not study, but really like take a look at the relationships that you're in. Who are you calling your brother? Who are you calling your sister? Who are you calling your girl or your man? If it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense. Stop lying for them to you, both ways, and find. And it's not always about being a bad person. Just know that there's different types of people, and people feel comfortable in that. We haven't had that privilege of actually like dating. Dating is something that, you know what I'm saying, we don't incorporate. The way I see it is people find each other sexually attractive, and whether they do it off top or they spend some time to get to know each other, they do it, then it's like, okay, that's us. But it's not regular when you see people going out with 2-3 different people, filling out, well, I need to see what type of woman I like, and you know, what type of woman likes me. And it's like we just jump right into freestyling and we just deal whatever. That's not healthy. That affects our children. So social relationships are important. You know what I'm saying? Taking our resources that we have and doing the extreme, like concentrating our numbers, is where I'm at with that. We have enough resources. We played the game long enough, you know, to the point where we're losing, you know, brothers like FBG down at high fashion stores. He had no business there. We have no business there. That's not our market. You understand what I'm saying? Side note, even when you're dealing with that, when you're looking at the people who actually wear their clothes, these companies give these people these clothes. They don't pay. You're paying for it to be a marketer to it. You're buying Gucci to tell broke people you can't afford Gucci. When the people that influenced you to get Gucci, Gucci gave them that Gucci. They didn't pay for that. So just know that it's fake. So yeah, homeschooling, as far as education, homeschooling, you know, community schooling. Like, we really need to take a hand and start physically getting up and doing stuff ourselves, for ourselves. That's it. Create the independent route, especially now that it's kind of being reset. We could start making some pivotal moves that could shake things up for us and attract numbers. But that's what I believe the solution is, because it's about family. It's always about the people. It's always about the people. So concentrate our numbers. Start participating in the culture that we can't afford to. Stop buying all of these things that you cannot afford to, and actually create a way for your children to manufacture it themselves. Because I mean, that's what everybody else did. So why stop with us? Um, And that's just it, man. I hope this becomes a series, of course. And that's just it, man. So other than that, yeah, subscribe to the AOI World, Midwest Music Focus. Also Midwest Music Mondays, every first and third Monday on Knowledge Born Allah platform, Do the Knowledge Radio. That's THA, not THE, Do the Knowledge. Yeah, shout out to Knowledge Born Allah. And shout out if it we getting back into like the music, so that's finna get serious. Everybody, you know, I've been telling y'all I've been working on the album. Y'all heard the first, you know, single, Affiliated, and stuff like that. So the Snapping Off Entertainment is finna pop back off, so you can find that, you know, on YouTube under Louis VZ Bradley. That's where all the videos will be posted, stuff like that. Other than that, y'all can get with me, you know what I'm saying? We can talk personally about, you know what I'm saying, getting the music out there. Shout out to the AOI, man. Brother Gold, man. Brother Brandon Bay, Radical. Brother Wicked, man. Sister Hurricane Katrina, Ground Zero. And shout out to all of the families, man. So, Shalom, man. Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep. I say Black Power, man. You already know me. Black African Power. Global liberation, man. Acceptance and self-definition, man, is important. So, shout out to YARAH, man, holding it down. Shout out to my the servant of Yahweh. Is that, did I say that right? Or did I mess
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
up?
you good.
Okay, man. And shout out to the sister, man. And shout out to Unseen. You all are pillars, and I appreciate being amongst you, man. So, Yahweh, you got my number. Mess with me. It's the people's champ, man. SUAVE boss, man.
We got you, fam. Peace and blessings, family. All praise to you, all God, man. Hey, listen. Hey, we're gonna definitely do a part two. Definitely gonna do a series. I think the feedback has been great. The participation was great. The panelists were on point. No fluff, no jive, no BS, no garbage. Just straight to it. Stuff you can take and chew on and build on. Now, those of you who haven't been able to speak to the situation, or maybe looking at it from a different point of view, maybe we're able to shift it a little bit for you, where you can either elevate the conversation that you have with somebody else, and getting this understanding out, man, that we can actually help our people. We have to start with the conversation, family. So again, peace and blessings. Again, shout out to Yahweh War Machine. Like, share, and subscribe to the Yahweh War Machine channel. Shout out to Solar Vision Debate League. Shout out to Solar Mind for allowing us this platform. So like and share, subscribe to Solar Vision Rapid Fire Debates. And then again, for more notifications and shows like this and different things, reach out to Elder YARAH. Like, share, and subscribe. That's ELDERYARAH on YouTube. Shout out to the family. Peace to the chat. It's always a pleasure having you in the building. And again, to our sister Leah, the Chocolate Hebrew, definitely want you back, sister. I want to definitely do a bill with you as well, because you said some very important things. I know you have some priorities you need to take care of, but definitely come back on this panel, because I definitely wanted to build with you with some different things about how our women, our queens, are dealing with this situation. Because you brought out a very important part. We see a lot of our young males being killed, how that affects our women, because they do love their sons. They do love their sons. They love their daughters too, but they do love their sons, and it has to be addressed and dealt with. Again, real one. Shout out to you, family. You're always welcome back, fam. And we're gonna rock out again. Till next time. All praise to the Most High.
Yeah, I got a scripture real quick. Is that fine?
Yeah, go ahead, fam.
All right. This is Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6 to 7. This is the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bonds of the wrong, and to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed free, and that you break every yoke. And that's pretty much what we're doing. Is it not to share your bread, the spiritual food, with the hungry, and to bring to your house the poor who are cast out? Meaning, who we're talking about. When we see the naked, that you cover him with, and we cover him and hide him yourself, and do not hide yourself for your own flesh. Meaning, like, don't hide yourself from your own people, and take care of one another. And like I said, it's Yahweh, and like the man be faithful to Yahweh, and then the women will be okay, with the man, and then the women, and then the children will be all right. And that'll be Yahweh Ka, Yahweh, unity, one.
Unity, one. Yahweh Ka. All praises. So again, shout out to you, family. Peace and blessings.
Shalom.
Shalom.